She began to speak. Izuku, when are you going to stop reading that book? I want to play outside. Izuku, whose voice displayed signs of exhaustion, responded to his sister's statement. Sorry, Izumi, but I'm tired right now. I just want to relax. Huh? Tired? But it's the morning. How can you be tired? I didn't exactly get enough sleep last night. My mind was sore all night, so I couldn't even go to bed without having a headache. If you say so, Izumi said with a shrug. I'm gonna go play with Katsuki. Feel free to come to the park when you're feeling better. As she began to leave the room, Izuku stopped her momentarily, pointing his finger toward the door frame. Don't put your hand on the door frame. You'll get a splinter if you do that. Izumi, slightly startled by this, instinctively did as he said, making sure not to put her hand on the door frame. Because of this, she had begun to view her brother as an enjima, not just because of these instances but by other means as well. There were times when they were playing tag that when she tried to touch him, she found that something stopped her to do so. When the situation was reversed, he was easily able to catch her despite having far better stamina than him. While she cringed at the circumstances, there was some understanding. Maybe she underestimated his speed. Maybe she was just getting slower. Or, the more plausible theory, maybe he had awakened his quirk. As she exited the house, ready to go to the park, Inko approached her, confused by something. Where's your brother? Is he not going with you? Nah, he said he had a headache or something. I see. Anyway, you should get going now. Katsuki will be waiting for you. Just remember to be back before dark. Okay? Okay. As she left the house, Inko went up to her son's room, concerned for the health of her child. Knocking on the door, she entered the room, seeing her son lie on the floor while worrying about him being sick. Izuku, sweetie, are you okay? No, my head hurts. I keep seeing things. Things that fill my mind with information. Information? Are you experiencing sensory overload? Izuku answered accordingly. I don't know what that is, but every time I look at something, it's like I could see things that no ordinary person could see. For example, even though I can't see you right now, I know what color shirt you are wearing. Purple. This greatly amazed Inko. She hadn't seen her child all day, and yet he knew what kind of color her shirt was. She couldn't help but feel the need to know more about her son's abilities, so after helping her son from the ground, she began to head to the doctors by car, a quirk specialist who was knowledgeable in quirk development, as well as identification. Heading over to Jaku General Hospital, Izuku was subjected to several tests, mostly involving the assessment of his eyesight, as well as any additional abilities that they discovered, including what appeared to be a barrier that they discovered after a doctor accidentally dropped a scalpel near the boy. After a few hours had passed, Inko and Izuku sat in the doctor's office, where a man would soon approach them, a man who had a peculiar set of goggles that were shaped somewhat like gears. Dr. Garaki. Mrs. Yagi, thank you for waiting. My name is Dr. Garaki. I'm sorry the assessment took some time. There were some additional things we needed to take into account. Oh, it's no worry. So long as my son is okay, I don't really mind the wait. So what exactly did you find out? Well, to be frank, your son is an enigma when it comes to his powers. Based on your initial testimony, you reported that he displayed signs of greater than normal eyesight. Is that correct? That's right, doctor. Well, after some observations, we were able to confirm that he has far greater eyesight than any normal child should have. But what we were able to discover is that besides the better eyesight, that he has displayed different kinds of abilities. For example, we were able to discover that he can instinctively create a force field around himself to protect himself from any sort of dangerous items. When we tried to study the force field further, we discovered that its composition was the result of manifesting a type of repulsive force. Wait, for real? Inko said in surprise. Dr. Garaki nodded his head in confirmation, before continuing. My records say you're a fourth-generation quirk user. What powers do you and the boy's father have? I don't have anything too special. My husband is the more powerful one out of the two of us. I can float small objects towards me, and my husband, he can do several different superhuman stuff. Increase strength, speed, stuff like that. I see. That explains some of the boy's abilities. But doctor, why would the ability to manipulate repulsive forces affect his eyesight? Regarding your question, it's possible that his eyesight is merely the result of a mutation. Typically speaking, it's impossible for the human eye to perceive or see repulsive forces. Therefore, it is my hypothesis that your son's eyesight was augmented in order to actually perceive such forces. I see. But doctor, my son complains about having a headache from my strain. Is there any way to reduce it? That was when the doctor began to think before coming up with a solution. Considering we found that he cannot turn down his eyesight, the best course of action would be to reduce his eyesight. Reduce. What your son has is the opposite of what people who need glasses to see better. In order to reduce his eyesight, the best options I can recommend would be to have him wear something in front of his eyes to obstruct his vision a little. Something as simple as a cloth covering or blacked-out glasses should do the trick. Will it affect him negatively? The mother asks him. Not at all. Considering he is able to see things with greater detail without something covering them, it's likely that he should be at a normal level of sight if he had something covering them. I see. Thank you, doctor. As the two began to leave, Dr. Shigaraki informed them of something further regarding Izuku's abilities. Keep in mind, it's likely that Izuku's powers will evolve in time, so it's best that you have someone train him so that he may properly control his abilities. A quirk like that can be dangerous in the hands of a child. Now then, you go home now and get some rest. Thank you, doctor. Before I forget, there are two things I need to bring up. First, I noticed that you have 2 children listed here. Has the other child displayed signs of awakening a quirk? Not yet. For now, Izumi is just a normal child. I see, and secondly, considering this is your child's quirk, he had the right to name it. So, what ideas does the little lad have? But Izuku did not answer his question, unsure as to what name he should give his quirk. Do you mind if we give you a name later? This is all so sudden that I'm sure he needs time to process this. I'll see you next time, doctor. Very well. I look forward to it, Mrs. Yagi, Dr. Shigaraki said with a smile. After the two had left the hospital, they arrived home, with Inko preparing food while Izuku sat on the table drawing, while wearing what looked to be a sleep mask over his eyes that his mother gave him. While he was doing this, his father, who had arrived early from work, greeted his wife with a kiss. Hey honey, sorry I was late. A villain was causing trouble for people at the store I was at, so I needed to stop them from causing any more panic. Oh, that's all right, dear. A hero's gotta do what a hero's gotta do. As he walked past her toward his son ready to spend time with him, he noticed the sleep mask over his eyes, giving a sort of confused expression on his face. Hey buddy, what are you wearing? Hey dad, I'm wearing a mask that Mum gave me. How come? Toshinori asked his son. This prompted Inko to explain to her husband why it was that he was wearing the mask. Well, earlier today while you were at work, Izuku said that he had a headache and I was initially concerned that he was unwell. But after some curiosity, I took him to a quirk specialist and it turns out he had awakened his quirk. Wait, for real? Yeah, he can manipulate repulsive forces and create a barrier around himself. And the best part, the doctor said that Izuku's abilities will only grow over time. Isn't this exciting? My baby boy's finally got his own quirk. Toshinori couldn't help but feel proud for his son. After all, he was in a better position than he was when he was a child. Better for his son to be born with a quirk in this era than with none at all. Well then, what are we waiting for? Let's get something prepared for celebrations. Over the course of the next couple of hours, Inko and Toshinori began to bake what appeared to be a modest cake for Izuku. It was milk chocolate in flavor with a chocolate center. While Izuku did occasionally help, his intervention mostly resulted in him eating the chocolate cake mix. After some time, Izumi arrived home, seeing the three acting rather joyfully with each other. She assumed something good had happened, resulting her asking a question in curiosity. Hey! What are you guys doing? Did something amazing happen? Something amazing sure has happened, Izumi. Inko replied. We discovered that your brother has manifested his quirk. Wait, really? Yep, sure did. Toshinori answered. That's why we're making a cake for a celebration. Oh yeah. What flavor did you pick? Strawberry, vanilla? Chocolate, actually. Should have been strawberry. She pouted. Either way, I'm excited for cake. Well, you'll just have to be patient. It'll be ready soon. Then we'll have it after dinner. After the family of 4 had finished their dinner, they eventually got to the cake, where they dug in and enjoyed it to their heart's content. Okay, as much as this is delicious, I still think you should have chosen strawberry, Izumi commented. Isuku didn't really react negatively to this, only giving a smile to her. Well, maybe when you awaken your quirk, you can pick the cake flavor. Oh yeah. I can't wait for the day that I awaken my quirk. Then I'll get you guys to make the greatest strawberry cake ever. Toshinori merely laughed at this statement in delight. Very well then, I'll take you up on that offer, Izumi. I can't wait to see what quirk you awaken. After that day, Izumi couldn't help but grow excited at the prospect of awakening her own quirk, and for many days after that, she held on hope that she would soon awaken one. There were times where she thought she had awakened one, but this was more of a byproduct of her own excitement getting the better of her. Eventually, after turning 5 years old, paranoia would soon set in, making her worry over several days. She had heard stories of people who were classified as late bloomers, with the main difference being that they awakened a quirk around the 5-year-old mark. But her worries would soon become engraved onto her mind, as one day, when her father took her to a quirk specialist and delivered her news that she would remember for a long time. I'm sorry, sir, but your daughter is quirkless, the doctor said to Toshinori. What? Are you sure? She should be able to develop one. I mean, she's 5 years old. Surely she would have shown signs of one by now. Do you think there's something wrong? Well, based on you and your wife's records, young Izumi here should have shown signs of one of your quirks or have a combination of both. But after viewing her x-rays, I don't think she is going to. You see, when superpowers first began appearing, there were many research studies conducted and doctors discovered a link between the bones of a person's foot and their likelihood of developing a quirk. He said, bringing up an x-ray. The x-ray itself showed what looked like the pinky toe having 2 distinct joints, causing Toshinori to remain stoic upon hearing his words. People with powers only have 1 joint in their pinky toes. Their bodies have developed into a more streamlined version of the human form. On her x-rays, it shows she has 2 joints in her pinky toes, like roughly 20% of the other population. Based on the research that is available, it's safe to say your daughter isn't going to develop a quirk. I see. Thank you for your time, doctor. Let's go, Izumi. From there, Izumi remained quiet for some time, ignoring people who tried to comfort her, including Isuku, who saw no reason to think any less of her. Though there was slight jealousy in her heart, she didn't blame Isuku for her quirkless status. After all, what evidence did she have to make such a claim? For a while, despite her condition, she was a relatively normal child. Though others did look down on her for her lack of a quirk, she didn't really care. However, her jealousy would only grow as time passed on, though she did not show it. Why did she have to suffer? Why did she not have a quirk? Why was Isuku the only one to be blessed with a power? And all that jealousy reached its breaking point, when one day, at 6 years old, something happened that made Izumi have a realization. During an instance where the kids at school tried to attack her with a stick, Isuku stepped in front of them, defending her from their attack, all while they snickered amongst themselves. So, the old man wants to defend his sister. Well then, I hope you enjoy getting hit with a stick. Tsubasa, do you not know what this guy's quirk is? He's just gonna repel your attacks. So, I just have to wait until he can't keep up that annoying barrier of his. Oh, is that right? Well, since there's 3 of you with sticks and only 2 of us, how about we even the odds a little? Drop your sticks. Huh? What makes you think we will do that? Tsubasa said with some snark in his voice. Well, if you don't want to take it down a notch, then I'll just have to even the odds. A different way. Isuku waved his hand slightly, with Tsubasa suddenly being pulled away from the group, slamming into the tree behind them. The other 2 panicked at this and began to run away, carrying Tsubasa with the little strength they had. Okay, I went a bit too far with that. I really should have kept that ability under wraps. You okay, Izumi? What did you just do? Oh, that. So, a few weeks ago, I found out that I could actually manipulate the forces of both repulsion and attraction. I was feeling a bit cocky just now, and figured I could use the attraction to mess with him a little. But I guess I should have waited until I had better control of it. I'm gonna have to apologize to his parents later, but he was messing with you anyway, so he'll have to apologize as well. Anyway, I'm glad that you didn't get hurt by that guy, he said, offering a hand to help her up. But this gesture only led Izumi to get angry and begin to tear up. Slapping his hand away, she yelled at him with a loud tone, acting rather violent toward him. Don't look down on me. I may be younger than you, but I'm not helpless. So don't get all big-headed just because you saved me. You only protected me because you feel sorry for me. Well, newsflash, I don't care if I'm quirkless. One day, I'll be better than you. She began to run away from her brother, tears still streaming down her face, while Izuku stood still, watching her run off, while he displayed a face of confusion. Why did she do that? He thought to himself. But as Izumi was running away, only a singular thought crossed her mind. A thought that resulted in her creating a wedge between them. A wedge that led her down a path of hatred and disgust of her brother. He stole it. He stole it from me. He stole my quirk. After the fight that Izumi and Izuku had, things had grown distant between the two siblings. Whenever Izuku tried to play with her, she would shut him out. Whenever he wanted to give her snacks, she smacked it away, saying that she was not interested. It eventually came to a point where Izuku believed that Izumi wanted nothing to do with him. So, acknowledging her hatred for him, he decided not to annoy her any further, only interacting with her during dinner and when they were with their parents. This was the nature of their relationship for the next few years of their lives, with Izumi training her body and mind every day without a break, while Izuku merely enjoyed life as best he could, making sure to take breaks from the busy life on Saturdays, and enjoy the view that he saw in the outdoors. On a particular Sunday, at the age of 10 years old, he was busy walking around what appeared to be a small park. He would look up a nearby tree, seeing the leaves sway with the wind. He enjoyed seeing nature playing its role of creating some kind of beauty. He thanked God for giving him the chance to enjoy a peaceful walk like this. But while he was distracted, a rather buff man and a kid around his age were initiating what appeared to be some kind of specialized training, where the man attempted to teach his brother how to turn while in use of their speed quirk. A quirk where the boy had some car-like engines on the calves of their legs. The boy began to turn it on and burst through the area in a straight line, while his brother freaked out, seeing Izuku standing in the way. Tenya! Turn! You're gonna hit him! But the boy named Tenya was unable to do as his brother instructed, tears appearing in his tear ducts, as he prepared for the worst to happen. Seeing no choice, the older man decided to warn Izuku, calling out to him. Hey kid! Get out of the way! You're gonna get hurt if you don't. Izuku, hearing the man's plea, did not listen to him. Instead, he activated his quirk, anticipating the collision and planning to defuse the situation without issue. When Tenya finally collided with Izuku, he found himself having not actually hit Izuku, but was instead stuck in midair until his engines began to power down. So, I take it you're still in the beginning stages of training your quirk? Izuku asks the boy. Why yes, the boy named Tenya said with stiffness in his face. Don't worry, I'm the same, at least in certain areas. After around a few minutes of relaxing from the incident, the two brothers began to drink orange juice, giving a can to Izuku as a way of expressing thanks for stopping Tenya, and a means to apologize to him for nearly risking his life. I am terribly sorry for almost hurting you, Tenya said with a bow. I was acting recklessly and put your life at risk. I ask for your forgiveness for my transgressions. Though I will understand if you don't want to dash. Oh, it's cool. Wait, what? Tenya said with surprise. I understand that you and your brother were merely just training your abilities. After all, my father does the same with my quirk. The older brother was surprised by this laid-back attitude from the boy. After all, he nearly got hit by what was nearly a boy going faster than 40 kilometers per hour, and yet he wasn't scarred or terrified. He was Chill. What was more intriguing was that he was similar to them in a way. A father that trained him to use his quirk. Was that even legal? Then again, perhaps his father was some hero. By the way, my father always told me that anyone who uses their quirk without being a hero is considered to be performing an illegal act, unless they are given permission from a hero to do so. I take it that means you must be a hero, mister. Izuku asks the man. Oh, that's right. To be specific, I go by the turbo hero Ingenium. Tenya confirms this by nodding in excitement. This made Izuku less concerned, and began to act more casually than he was before. Ah, that makes more sense. You're that speedster hero with the engines in his arms. You do some pretty cool stuff. Well, thank you for the compliments. I appreciate it, the man said with gladness. But that actually makes me a bit curious. What hero is your father to train you with your quirk? I would tell you, but my father is rather secretive with his superhero identity. A fair point, I'll give you that. How about this? I'll make sure to keep my lips sealed and ensure that no one else knows. Initially, Izuku saw no reason to play along with this man's deal, but he also found the man to be honest, seeing no reason that he would use this information as blackmail. Motioning his hand, he asked the man to come closer, to where he proceeded to whisper a single name in the man's ear. His eyes went wide at this. Hold? For real? For real? So you're his kid? Honestly, I didn't expect him to even have a family to take care of. Guess you learn something new every day. Well, it's nice to meet you, young man. Glad to know that the son of a pro was able to help my kid brother. Don't mention it. But what are you doing here anyway? Where are your parents? Mom is doing some shopping somewhere in Narahata, and Dad is with my sister. Your sister? Yeah. Dad's helping her train her body in order to help her learn self-defense. Oh, well, that makes sense. Guess with so many villains sprouting, it makes sense to wanna at least keep your family safe. Anyway, you need me to take you home? Nah, I'm good. I ain't going home for a long while. I'll probably go back before sunset or something. I see. Well, if that's the case, want to hang out with Tenya for a bit before you have to go? Naturally, Izuku grew curious by this, as Tenya desperately tried to stop his brother from continuing. Tensei, stop it. You're gonna embarrass me. See, my kid brother here has a hard time connecting with the other children. They often call him names just because he's the type to follow the rules and expect others to do the same. Oh, so your brother is a stickler for the rules. That's a bit rude of those guys. Yeah, some kids can be a bit cruel. But anyway, it would be great if you could be Tenya's friend. He may be a bit of a pain, but he's still a good kid. Say no more. Of course I'll hang out with him. If his classmates are upset at him because he follows the rules, then let them, but there is nothing wrong with following the rules. The hero, now named Tensei, smiled at this proclamation. Alright, cool. Then while you two play, do you mind if I relax for a moment? Training Tenya for so long has me a bit out of breath. Okay, sounds good. Come on, Tenya, let's go play. The two began to play some simple games with each other, while Tensei rested from looking after his brother. They pretended to be in a multitude of situations, with some including them pretending that the floor is lava, that they were fighting some invisible villains, or pretending to be in some kind of dance battle, which both of them were promptly bad at. Eventually, after spending around 30 minutes doing so, they began to relax with a game of chopsticks. So, you wear glasses as well. Do your eyes give you headaches as well? Izuku asks him. No, Tenya answers in confusion. Eyes aren't meant to cause headaches. Besides, my glasses are meant to help me see better. Oh, I see. Guess my mum was right. Not everyone has the same problem like me. Wait, is that why you wear glasses? Because you see too good? Yeah. It has something to do with my quirk and sensory overload. In order to at least have normal eyesight, I have to wear these tinted glasses. That or a piece of cloth over my eyes. Amazing. Your eyesight is that good. Can't say I like it, but yeah, my eyesight is pretty good. Would it have anything to do with that strange force field you made? The doctor believes it to be. That's so cool. Tenya shouted. So what do you call your quirk? Well, the doctor told us that because it's my quirk, I can register it however I'd like. So I went with something simple. Limitless. Tenya cringed at this name, but chose not to tell him his opinion of the name. So, those engines coming out of your legs? Can you take them out? Huh. I mean, is it stuck to your skeleton? Or is it something that you can pull out any time? Well, to make a correction, the things sticking out of my legs are mufflers. Secondly, I have no clue. You don't? Have you tried? Well, I haven't because I don't know what will happen if I do. I mean, it's car engines in my legs. It's not like the mufflers will grow back if I remove them. Plus, I have no doubt it would be painful. Okay, that makes a bit of sense. Say, Yagi, do you have any siblings? Yeah, I have a twin sister, but she and I aren't on good terms at the moment. Why is that? Tenya asked him. I actually have no clue. It happened when I was defending her from some rather rowdy kids. She suddenly slapped my hand away, and we started only speaking to each other when our parents were around. It honestly has been pretty sad that things turned out this way. Tenya was taken aback by this, feeling sorry for the boy, while continuing to drink his juice. Man, you certainly have it rough. I at least have a brother who I can look up to. Yeah, I guess. It doesn't help that my classmates have a polarizing view of me. Either the girls like me for my looks, or the guys hate me because they can't beat me up when I defend my sister. Yikes. Some people can be rather cruel. Tell me about it. But even when I help my sister, she ends up turning on me, thinking I did it out of pity. I see. So you're caught in a situation where if you don't help her, your parents will question your actions. But if you do, your sister will get upset at you. Sounds about right. Well, if I were you, I'd still help your sister out. It's like my brother always tells me. Meddling when you don't need to is the essence of being a hero. Wow, your brother is pretty wise. After they continued to play, Tensei got a call from his parents, telling him to come home with his younger brother. Informing Tensei of this, they bowed in respect to Isuku, thanking him for his time, before Tensei handed him a piece of paper. If you ever want to play with Tenya again, just have your parents call this number, and I can organize a get-together so you two can hang out. Thanks, Izuku said with gratitude. As the two brothers bowed their heads, they began to leave, with Izuku doing the same. Upon heading back to his house, his mother greeted him at the door, while he took off his jumper. Hey Izuku, how was playing at the park? It was pretty good. I made a new friend today. His name's Tenya. Oh, that's nice to hear, Izuku. Glad you made a new friend. By the way, I just got a call from your uncle Hisashi. He and your cousin Mikumo are going to be visiting in a couple of days. So I want you and your sister to clean your rooms in case he wants to play with you guys. Okay, Mum. Oh, and before I go to my room, Tenya's brother wanted me to give you this, just in case I want to hang out with him again. Passing his mother the note, she made sure to attach it to the fridge to ensure she would not lose it. One would have assumed she would log the number on her phone, but she also did it, as she was hoping to replace her phone later that week, and did not want to chuck away an important piece of information. Okay Izuku, if you don't mind, could you help me clean the dishes? The dishwasher isn't working as it should, so I'm going to need a big, strong man to help me, she said in the hopes of getting him to assist her. Nodding his head, he approached the sink, grabbing a tea towel and wiping the dishes of any remaining water that were present. While this was happening, Izumi stood in front of her father attentively, while he, who was currently taking his day off, looked a bit confused by his daughter's actions. While he took a sip of water, Izumi began to speak. Father, for the past 4 years, you have seen and even helped me with my training to improve my physical prowess. For that, I thank you for your efforts. Oh, it's not a problem, Izumi. After all, it's important to teach anyone how to stay fit and to defend themselves. But something tells me that's not the reason why you're talking to me like this. Is it? That is correct. Father, as you have told me, mother and brother, you are the symbol of peace. You also said that the big villain you fought against years ago hurt you in a way that could not be fixed by normal medical means. This quirk of yours. The quirk you said was passed down to you, and that you will need to soon pass it on to I believe it is within your best interest to make me the ninth successor of One for All. Toshinori's eyes widened at this, before he began to speak. That's why you wanted to talk? Because you wanted to inherit One for All. That is correct. While I do know that you are looking for someone with a suitable quirk to inherit it, I believe that as your daughter, who is quirkless like you were once, I find that this is the only appropriate solution to your problem. You'll have a successor. I'll have a quirk. Win-win. Toshinori looked on at Izumi with a look of sadness in his eyes. This made Izumi confused, as Toshinori began to speak to her. I'm sorry, Izumi, but I don't think you should have One for All. Silence. It filled the room for roughly 30 seconds, as Izumi processed the words she was hearing. Don't think you should have One for All. What was her father saying? Was she hearing wrong? She could hear her heart pound in the background, constantly beating, as a sudden ringing sensation filled her ears. What? But why? Her father's eyes were covered by a shadow, as he desperately tried to remain stoic and understanding. Izumi, right now you are 10 years of age. You still have time to experience a normal childhood. I don't want to take that away from you by placing this curse on you. Besides, the level of responsibility needed to use this power would be too much for you to handle, even if I wanted to give it to you. Izumi's face contorted in slight anger, as she felt herself being denied the perfect opportunity to make a difference. But she was not angry at her father. She understood his concerns for her as her parent, and yet, she couldn't help but feel insulted and heartbroken. I understand, Father. Despite her desperate hopes that her father would give her the opportunity to be a hero, it pained her to know that her father would not even consider giving her his power. Tears began to stream down her face as she locked herself in her room. I'm not weak, she mumbled to herself. I'm not helpless. I can do good. As she approached her desk, she grabbed a pencil and paper and began to doodle on the paper, trying to sketch what looked to be a small figure, one with round eyes and exposed teeth. Though this was the first prototype, it would throughout the years evolve into something far greater than it started off. After a couple days had passed, we see the Yagi family in front of what looked to be the airport, holding up a sign, as they waited patiently for their guests to arrive. Hey Mom, how come we have to go pick them up? Shouldn't they have taken a cab to our place? Izumi asked her mother. Well Izumi, it's been a while since your uncle has been in the country, that it will take some time for him to get readjusted to living here again. Hold on, living here? I thought you said he was only going to be visiting for a couple of days. While that is true, they're also looking for a place to call their permanent home. After all, traveling around the world will certainly take it out of you eventually. While Isuku held onto his mother's hand, he made sure to keep an eye on the gate, looking for a man roughly 5'10" in height, with short, green hair while also wearing some glasses. As for Mikumo, since it had been some time since he last saw him, there were only a few clear features for him to look out for. This included midnight, black hair, and similar features to his own. However, what made them unique to each other was the fact that Mikumo had a condition that made his eyes two different colors. One red and the other purple. Heterochromia is what his mother called it. After roughly 30 minutes of waiting, Inko spotted someone in the distance. A boy wearing what appeared to be a comic book t-shirt, and a man wearing some formal wear consisting of a buttoned-up shirt, pants, and a blazer. He was rocking what looked to be a small green goatee, and had his hair slicked back, reminding Izuku of a secret agent. The man took off his glasses upon seeing the family of four. Inko, my beautiful sister, did I keep you waiting? Hisashi and Inko conversed with each other, having reunited with each other after being in separate countries for years, with the majority of their conversation was about trying to understand what had happened in each other's lives. For Hisashi, he was coming back to Japan after helping out with what was apparently an animated series based on his own comic book series Humanity Unbound, a futuristic detective story that questioned the what-if possibility of a society reliant on androids, and whether such a device could or should become alive. For the most part, Izuku was given the opportunity to read the original comic run thanks to his uncle, but while it was interesting, he was more of a superhero fan. Still, that did not mean he didn't like it, just kept it in the back of his mind. After the two siblings conversed with each other, they got into the family car, where Hisashi and Inko continued their conversation. So, Inko, how is father doing? He's been doing all right. The hospital staff have said that his treatments have been helping his body. So if we're fortunate, he should get out of the hospital within a month. That's great. I'm glad he'll be able to get out of his bed soon. As the two adults were talking, Izuku spoke with Mikumo, who was telling his cousin of the places he went to while he was in America. So anyway, at New York City, they have this giant statue of this lady wearing strange robes all while holding a torch. I see. And is the torch meant to be like a lighthouse or something? While it does light up, I think it's mostly for decoration. I see. Did they ever explain to you why she wears that funny crown on her head? I honestly have no clue myself. Fair. But tell me, what's school life like over there? Well, I will say that school life is far different from those old movies Grandpa Jack used to show us. Really? So there's no bullies? Oh no, there are bullies, just not the stereotypical bullies that snap their fingers and have their friends appear out of nowhere. But my school is a bit different. Fair point. Do you get slack for using your quirk? Well, in the winter, the teacher allows me to manipulate my flames to keep the room warm, but otherwise, I'm not allowed to use it. Let's just say there was an incident that I was responsible for. Yikes. What did you do? Did you burn something? You could say that. Mikumo responded with an embarrassed look. I may have melted a person's car. Hold on, melted? Yep. Father had to pay a lot of money for that poor man's just to replace it. That's why I'm not allowed to use my quirk like that, unless I am told to do so. Wow, that's pretty brutal. The quirk in question that Mikumo was describing was given various names due to the nature behind it. But in essence, the quirk that Mikumo had awakened was given the simple documented name of disaster flames, the ability to manipulate both fire and lava. This was the result of a mutation from his father's fire-breathing quirk. But it was also speculated to be a combination of the fire-breathing quirk and his mother's quirk. Sadly, the young boy did not know what to make of his abilities. Thankfully, he was able to control his powers over the years, really only having trouble with the lava aspect behind it. As they were conversing, Izumi remained quiet, sketching in her book drawing what appeared to be a robot. Hisashi took note of this, complimenting the girl. Wow, that's a nice drawing, Izumi. What is it? Oh, it's nothing special. Well, do you have a name for this robot? Nothing yet. So far I've only come up with Western names, like Jason or Edith, but those aren't cool enough. I see. Well, if you ever need my advice, you can always ask me. Thanks, Uncle Hisashi. The car ride lasted for about an hour, before they arrived at the Yagi residence, with Hisashi keeping his luggage in the car, before entering the home with his sister and son. So, there's a guest bedroom for you upstairs, Hisashi. As for Mikumo, he can sleep in Izuku's room if he wants. Thanks again for doing this, Inko. I can't tell you how much help this is going to be. I'll be sure to keep the guest bedroom tidy. Mikumo, who entered right after them, asked Izuku about any activities they could do while he was at their place. So Izuku, what exactly can we do around here? I mean, I doubt you guys have any video games to play. I mean, we do, but it mostly collects dust nowadays. We can go to the park if you want, but I can't guarantee that it will be peaceful over there. How so? Well, let's just say we might encounter Katsuki if we end up hanging out at the park. Katsuki? Who is that? Well, he's just an old friend of mine who kind of became a problem. A problem? Yeah, mostly cause of Izumi. He developed some sort of superiority complex and started teasing Izumi for not having a quirk. I've stopped him a couple of times, but the dude is relentless. I see. Well, I could go out and have a walk. So let's go. Cool. After making his decision, Izuku walked up to his mother, telling her about his intentions. Hey Mom, Mikumo and I are gonna head to the park. Is that all right? Of course, honey, she says with a smile. Izumi, go outside with your brother and cousin. Get some sun on your skin. Upon hearing this, Izumi let out a small sigh, grabbing her sketchbook, before heading outside. Let's just go, she muttered. Oh, K. Mikumo answered. The three left the house, heading towards the park, before the two boys eventually began to swing on the swing set. As they did so, Izumi sat in the shade by herself, sketching in her book. Mikumo, who was swinging lightly, began to speak with Isuku. So Isuku, this Katsuki fellow, what else can you tell me about him? Well, he has an explosion quirk, is generally a pain but manageable, and for whatever reason, he has the constant need to shout a lot. Ah, so he's one of those guys. Tell me, how does he fare in a fight? Not too great, I am afraid. He mostly focuses on head-first attacks. And cause of my powers, he tends to fail miserably when trying to fight against me. Realistically, I don't even need to fight back. He just gets caught in my barrier and boom, stuck until I turn it off. So, what is he exactly? He's the son of my mum's friend, Mitsuki. Lovely woman, though I feel sorry for his dad more than her. Considering what she's like at home, it makes sense where Katsuki got his attitude from. In terms of association, I'd say he's more of an acquaintance. The best friend spot so far is reserved for Tenya. Tenya? Yeah, I met him a couple days ago, and found him really fun to hang out with despite our differing personalities. I see. He must be a pretty cool guy for you to consider him as such. He's certainly interesting, I'll give you that. A bit awkward, but he means well. As the two boys continued to converse, Katsuki Bakugo, appearing with his many friends, began to approach Izumi, intending to bother her. What are you sketching there, Deku? He said, emphasizing the last word. What do you want, Bakugo? Izumi asks him with a less than thrilled attitude. Oh, what's this? Little Deku here has an attitude. A boy by the name of Hashiga commented. Maybe she's forgotten the hierarchy since that protective brother of hers has been watching over her. As if I would be afraid of someone whose quirk is making themselves have shark teeth. Excuse me? Knock it off, Mikumo's voice called out. The three boys stood by while Mikumo approached them. Isuku, not too far behind, commented on the situation. Wow, speak his name and he shall appear. How have you been, Bakugo? If I remember our last altercation, you accidentally hurt yourself after trying to unleashing an attempted flying attack on me. But Katsuki was not amused by the interaction, as he scowled at him. Izuku Yagi. Yep, that's my name. Try not to wear it out. What do you want? And who's the carbon copy standing with you? Ouch. I am Mikumo Midoriya. My connection with these two is one of family. My father happens to be their mother's brother. You must be the one called Katsuki Bakugo. For the sake of ensuring that no one gets hurt, I ask that you leave my cousin alone. She has dealt with your trouble for far too long. Oh? And why should I? Katsuki asked with bravado. What trouble could you bring me if I were to continue? Mikumo thought about what he should do to mediate this problem, finding it hard to come up with a solution. While he could simply try and use his quirk to slightly burn their pants away, the greater consequences from such actions would likely cause backlash. So, having no choice in the matter, he had to pull the parent card. Well, if you decide to hurt her, I'm gonna go ahead and tell on you to all of your parents. The two other children began to laugh, while Katsuki stood still. Yeah, right. It's not like Kakin is afraid of his mom. Right, dude? But Katsuki remained still. His friends began to worry, as his eyes widened in terror. Fear was painted over his eyes, as he imagined the situation that he could end up in if Mikumo were to tell on him to his mother. Experiences that he had been through before, and prayed to never go through again. Let's just go. Huh? Katsuki, what are you dash? Let's just go, he shouted before running away. Mikumo smirked slightly, as the other two began to follow their friend. As for Izumi, rather than praise her cousin, only her inferiority complex was present, and elevated ever so slightly. She cursed under her breath, cursing her own weakness, cursing at the very idea that she needed others to save her. All because she was helpless once again. Not again. Not again, she said to herself. After the three had returned home for the day, things had continued as normal, with the family eating and spending time together. Many days would soon pass, before Hisashi and Mikumo left the Yagi household, having found a place of their own. But as time continued to pass, Izumi further delved into her own insecurity. Because of her isolation from many in school and of her age group, she had developed a tendency to tinker with machines, whether simple or complex. She would tinker at her inventions with much focus, including a machine in the corner that bore teeth that were exposed and eyes that were round but hollow. Shiny, yet with no sign of life was present. Its design was crude, yet humanoid. The only thing on it was a name that was on its arm. A name that Izumi had given her first creation, Mekamaru. As a couple more years had passed, Toshinori sat on the couch at home, watching some TV, while the weather outside poured heavy rain over their home. He would soon receive a call coming from an international number, with the number indicating that the call was coming from America. Curious, he accepted the call, wondering what kind of potential scam someone was trying to conduct. "Hello? Toshinori? Is that you? It's David." "David? Hey Toshinori, it's been a while. How have you been?" "I've been doing great. Family life has been rather eventful, although I don't think it compares to you." "Oh yeah, Isuku and Izumi are 12 now, right?" "Yeah, they're about to start middle school next year. It truly astonishes me how time flies." "Yeah, my little girl is just going through the next stage of her development. As a single father, it does become troublesome, but a necessary endeavor to go through. Speaking of our children, how are Izumi and Izuku?" "Well, Izuku has been doing well in school, though I can't for the life of me handle the amount of attention he gets at school." "Did he do something wrong?" Toshinori let out a sigh. "No. It just appears that my son has become Mr. Popular amongst his classmates. As for my daughter, it's the opposite." "Your daughter?" "Yeah. She's mostly isolated herself from the other kids because of her quirkless status. As a result, she's always tinkering with her machines when she doesn't have any homework." "Machines, you say? Tell me, what exactly does she make?" "Well, the last time I was in her room, she had this robot in the corner she calls Mekamaru. I haven't seen it actually move or function, but it does certainly wouldn't surprise me if she has it up and running soon." "I see. She kind of reminds me of my daughter. Say, what do you think about her inventing things?" Toshinori thought about this for some time before answering. "Well, at first I was worried that she might be trying to create something dangerous, but if she wants to pursue this path, all I can do is ensure she uses her talents for good." "I see. Well, what if I offer her the opportunity to come to Island for a few of years?" This caused him to blink his eyes a couple of times. Put your daughter on the phone. I want to tell her personally." "Okay." Following his friend's instructions, he walked up to Izumi's room, where he saw her laying on the bed, reading what appeared to be a book on robotics. Upon having her bedroom door opened, her attention was drawn to her father. "What is it?" "There's someone on the phone I would like you to speak with, something that might pique your interest." Intrigued by her father's words, she held his phone up to her ear, wondering who it was on the other end. Her father, wanting to give her privacy, left the room. "Hello? Who is this?" "Hello, young lady. This is David Shield, your father's friend. I've been told that you have a habit of tinkering with machines. That true?" "Maybe. Why do you ask?" "Well, young lady, I'm not sure if you are aware of this, but I happen to oversee a series of classes on an artificial island called Island. Classes in relation to the construction of equipment useful in the hero field and other areas." "How interesting. Now tell me, young lady, what is it that you strive for?" Izumi thought about this question for a moment. At first, she wanted to be a hero similar to that of her father's, but that was under the condition that she was given his power. Now that she was never going to inherit it, in what way could she be a hero? Could she even be a hero without a quirk? Why not find out? I want to be a hero who does not need a quirk to save others." Hearing her words, David smiled, holding what looked to be a piece of paper in his hand, as he continued to speak. "Then why not increase your skills by coming to Island? If your parents allow it, we can take care of all your needs while you're staying here." Plus, because of our significance, we can have your country's education department teach your middle school curriculum here. Interesting. Well, what do you say? You want to take the leap? I say, I'll take it. Excellent. Do me a favor and pass the phone back to your father. I feel that I need to explain to him some of the details, assuming he and your mother are up to allowing you to come. After heading out of her room and passing the phone back to Toshinori, David began to divulge the details to his friend. When Inko eventually arrived home, Toshinori would repeat the details to her, to which she would give a less than amused expression. So, you want Izumi to stay on Island for 3 years during her middle school period to not only teach her the curriculum, but to have this David fellow help hone her skills in building inventions. That's correct, honey. She let out a sigh upon hearing his confirmation. Toshinori, I know you want to help Izumi, but is this really the way to go? Shipping her to who knows where in the middle of the ocean. It just seems irresponsible. I understand your concern, Inko, but think about what it could do for Izumi's benefit. With a man like David teaching her the ropes to things, she could pave a path that'll help her in the long run. Plus, he can help her with things outside of robotics. Yes, but what if the other kids on that island are the same as the ones here? This comment struck a chord with Toshinori, who knew exactly what Inko was talking about. Inko, if it's discovered that she is being bullied on the island because she is quirkless, then I will gladly take her out of it. But I doubt that such a thing will happen. David's own daughter is quirkless, and the fact that she is still on the island can only tell me that she is being looked after, regardless of her status. Inko, I know you're scared for her, but I have no doubt she will overcome any adversity that should come her way. Inko thought about this for some time, weighing the pros and cons to having Izumi being sent to Island. While she was initially ready to refuse the idea, the more she thought about it, the more she could not deny the prospects that would come from such an opportunity. She would eventually agree to the decision, allowing Izumi to pack her things, where after a few days David would arrive to Japan by plane, waiting for her. Izumi, good to see you made it. Thank you for having me, she responded. So, you ready to head out? Melissa has been waiting patiently to meet you. Izumi paused for a moment before answering. Not yet, sir. Just a few more things before I go. Turning back to her parents, she would bring them in a warm embrace, holding them tight for a few seconds, before waving them a goodbye. Stay safe, sweetie, Inko cried out loud. Don't forget to call us every once in a while, Toshinori shouted. After boarding the plane, it would take some time before the aircraft flew out of Japanese airspace, heading towards its destination. While staring out the window, Izumi would be stuck in thought as to her future prospects, primarily relating to her brother. Izuku, I won't allow you to continue seeing me as weak ever again. When the time comes, I will show you that I am far stronger than you realize. I will beat you. After Izumi's departure to Island, 3 years would pass, with the two children being roughly 15 years of age, and in the final year of their middle school lives. Izuku, having been admitted to semi-private academy, was currently sitting in his homeroom class, reading what appeared to be his English textbook, trying his best to grasp the concepts of the language. He sighed under his breath, as Tenya looked at him with slight concern. What wrong, Izuku? You've been reading that book for a while. Sorry, I'm just a bit annoyed by the homework, I guess. Oh, the English homework? Yeah, I mean, it's just more tedious than complicated. I can see what you mean. I had to ask my brother just to understand some of the words in this thing. Well, at least we're not reading something in medieval English. Can you imagine if we had to read some of those plays the teacher was telling us about? I would imagine that some of our classmates would find it a bit difficult, including us. Yeah, if I wanted to learn about a romance story that ended in tragedy, I would just watch the various adaptations of it. Izuku, with all due respect, an adaptation is not a viable substitute for the original, even if the original is boring. I guess, but the adaptation just makes things more interesting, you know? Somehow, I worry for you even more with that statement. After the bell rang, the students began to leave their homerooms and head to their next class. Tenya and Izuku in particular walked together, with Tenya slightly towering over him. So Izuku, where are you hoping to go for your hero career? Personally, I'm hoping to get into UA's hero program. UA, huh? I don't know. I heard online that they were going to change the hero program to lower the amount of students that get admitted it. Well, those are merely rumors. But if it is the way they are going about it, I believe it is to go down the route of creating quality heroes rather than inflate numbers. Makes sense. But I was kind of thinking I should go to Shiketsu for their hero program. Shiketsu, huh? Forgive me for asking, but why Shiketsu? Surely a man of your talents would benefit far more at UA. While that is the case, there is a far more pressing matter than mere growth. Their uniform colors. Tenya blinked his eyes upon hearing this. I beg your pardon? Tenya, with a guy like me, style is one of the most important aspects behind my look. You know how people pair dark and light clothing together? It's kind of like that. I need a uniform that complements my lighter side, he said, pointing to his hair. You only picked Shiketsu because the uniform complements your hair? Of course, darker uniforms complement my hair better. UA's gray uniform just doesn't work for me, you know? Alright, I'm sure that the school can change your uniform to fit your desire. After all, my brother did tell me something one of his old classmates told him. Old classmate? Yeah, they apparently work as a teacher at UA. They told him about some new uniform policy the principal wants to encourage. Something about customization. This piqued Izuku's interest, as his eyes lit up upon hearing such a thing. Very well. UA it is then. You folded that easily? After this conversation, the two go about their daily school lives, going through the motions that each of their classes presented. It took some time before the two of them finished the school day and proceeded to walk home. They conversed with one another about today's events, including the weather, any villain attacks that took place, as well as any future homework assignments. Things were realistically good, with the two of them separating as soon as Izuku got to the train station. But Izuku couldn't stop thinking about how things were going for Izumi. They hadn't had a proper conversation between each other for years now, and the more time passed, the more worried he had become for his sister. Was she doing okay? Was she all right? These questions were on his mind, as he finally walked off the train and walked underneath a long tunnel back home. Izumi, how the years have passed for us. Tell me, do you still bear that hatred towards me? As he walked through the tunnel, the sound of clanging metal echoed behind him, with the manhole cover shooting up into the tunnel ceiling and creating an indent into it. This caught Izuku's attention, as he turned back and saw what looked to be a rising mountain of sludge in front of him. At first, he was slightly grossed out, thinking that the sewage was overflowing. But as soon as a pair of eyes and a set of teeth emerged, that's when he knew this was a villain trying to start something. The villain chuckled in delight. Ah, looky what we have here. You will make a perfect skin suit for me to hide in, kid. So, you trying to take control over my body? No thanks. I don't feel comfortable with that. So if you could just leave me alone, that would be great. The villain grew slightly annoyed at this backtalk and leaped into the air, wanting to engulf the boy. But as he was about to start his villain monologue, he noticed that something was wrong. He wasn't feeling any sort of contact with his body. No skin, no hair, nothing. That's when he discovered that rather than being on Izuku, he was surrounding him, being blocked by Izuku's invisible barrier. What is this? The villain said aloud in confusion. Why can't I reach you? Well, let's just say my quirk lets me do some rather extraordinary things. His barrier began to expand, pushing the sludge villain away from him, all while pressing him against the tunnel wall. As this happened, the villain groaned, struggling to maintain its body under the pressure of Izuku's barrier. After a small amount of time passed, the villain's eyes began to go blank, while its body structure fizzled into a pool of sludge, still breathing, but barely conscious. Man, talk about a bad day for you. Here you were, trying to take over my body, and then suddenly you go unconscious. Sorry I went a bit overboard, but seriously, I had to do something to defend myself. You know how it goes. As he was staring down at the defeated villain, he suddenly heard the sounds of a man crying his lungs out as he leaped out of the sewers. his father. Have no fear, you are safe. Now that I am here, that is. Allow me to save you from this evil dash. Oh hey dad. Good to see ya. Izuku. Are you okay? Oh, I'm fine. This guy was just trying to cause some trouble for me. Fortunately, I was able to defend myself without any issues. I see. Well then, you've made my job significantly easier. Oh? Were you chasing this guy down? Yes, this dastardly villain was trying to escape after robbing a small convenience store. Only problem was that this evildoer was a bit slippery, so I appreciate your assistance. Anytime, Dad. But how exactly are you going to keep this guy contained? He's made of sludge after all. Well, son, that is where we improvise. Grabbing 2 plastic bottles nearby, Toshinori, who was currently all might at this time, was beginning to place the sludge in the bottles, with his son mostly assisting out of courtesy. After a bit of cleaning, the two had finished gathering the bits of sludge, and the villain was completely captured, having no escaping his small plastic prison. Well, it seems like there is no more signs of this villain's sludge, so thanks for the help, son. Hey, don't mention it, Dad. I'll be home with Mum, so don't stay out too late. Very well. I shall see you guys at home. In the meantime, stay safe. His father suddenly leaped into the air, gaining some distance from his son, while Izuku's hair fluttered in the wind from the shock wave created. He stared up at the sky, watching as his dad slowly disappeared from view, before continuing his way back home. After a short while, Izuku arrived at his house, walking through the front door and taking his shoes off as he went in further. Hey Mum, I'm home. Welcome back, sweetie. How was school? It was all right. Tenya was just asking me what school I want to go to begin my hero's journey at. And have you decided on which school you want to go to? Well, I just settled for UA. It's the school Dad went to after all, so I figured that it shouldn't be too bad. A little confident, I see. Well, don't let that confidence cloud your judgment. You still need to keep up with your training if you want any shot at getting into UA. Yeah, I know. I just find it rather enjoyable at the fact that I'm going to be able to get in without an issue. Well, don't expect your father to give you a recommendation to get in. He expects you and Izumi to get in with your own skill, should you and her be interested in going, that is. Is that so? Well, I'll try not to disappoint him. After some time had passed, Toshinori had returned home from his day of heroing, where, after closing his house door, he depowered himself, returning to his skinny form. Oh boy, now that was troublesome, he said with exhaustion. Oh hey Dad, I didn't expect to see you so early. So, did you get that villain to the cops just fine? Oh hey Izuku. Yes, that sludge villain you helped apprehend got dropped off to the police station just fine. They'll be sending him to a specialized facility to keep him contained. Wow, he's that bad, huh? Well, it's not because of the crimes he committed, but because of the nature behind his quirk. Any traditional cell wouldn't hold him, so it was necessary for them to put him in Tartarus because of the resources they have. A fair point, but honestly, I feel kind of bad for the guy, even if he was a villain. Inko noticed her husband and began to walk up toward him, kissing him on the cheek. Welcome home, Toshi. Glad that you came home safely. Glad I'm back as well. Dinner will be ready in 20 minutes, so just get changed in the meantime and wait patiently at the table, okay? Whatever you say, honey. After waiting around for a short while, the family sat at the table, eating the meal that Inko had prepared for them, as the stars illuminated in the night sky. So honey, Izuku tells me that he is planning on taking the UA entrance exam to try and get into the hero course. Is that right? Well, that's quite the goal you have, son. You know, I heard from Nizu that he was going to be changing the exam slightly to make it more difficult. Really? And how exactly would you know, father? Well, it just so happens that your old man is going to be working at UA as a teacher. So Nizu gave me the inside scoop. Oh wow, for real? Now that's going to be interesting. There's a special reason for that. Nizu believes that the hero students could benefit from having an experienced hero teach them the basics of hero work. Plus, I have a special assignment on the side. A special assignment? Do tell. Or is this one of those keep-to-yourself secret assignments? For now, it is a keep-to-yourself assignment. However, I'll tell you later when the time comes. Sounds good, but you better tell me soon. Otherwise, I'm gonna keep annoying you about it. I'm sure you will. By the way, I have some news for you guys. Izumi is coming back to Japan in 10 months. Inko placed her fork on the bowl before turning to her husband. Izumi is coming back in 10 months? Toshinori nodded his head. Yeah, turns out she is also going to UA for the entrance exams. But unlike Izuku, she's going to be applying for the support course exam. Oh wow, I have no doubt that her time on Island will help her pass the exam with no issue. Izuku continued to eat, paying no mind to their parents' conversation, while Toshinori turned to his son. So, since there are 10 months until the entrance exams start, I believe you want someone to help you continue to stay in shape until then? I know of a good beach that will be the perfect training place for strength build-up. Sounds nice. Would that be okay? I mean, you also have hero work to do, don't you? We can adjust based on issues that appear down the line. Fortunately for us, if there comes a time where I cannot help you, I have made an easy guide to ensure maximum growth in the next 10 months. Passing off the plan to Izuku, the young man began to read it, with the title in bold captions called Aim to Pass the American Dream. As he read through the plan, a few details caught his attention. Sleep schedule, food plans, exercises, each aspect of his life was being planned out for the next 10 months, and Izuku wasn't really liking the idea of cutting out sweets. Man, so much to do, he muttered. Follow this to the T and we'll have you strong in no time. Physically, of course. I see. Well then, it might end up annoying at first, but I'm sure I'll do just fine. Finding motivation in the boy's words, he inadvertently transformed into his buff form, yelling at the top of his lungs. That's the spirit. Now come here, he said, pulling him into a hug. Izuku allowed his father grab hold of him, lifting the young man into the air before giving him a soft noogie. His mother joined in the moment, offering a soft laughter while Izuku, while slightly embarrassed, felt quite happy right now. For the next 10 months, Izuku had underwent his father's training plan, focusing on developing his body to peak physical condition. The plan was rather strenuous as he had to balance both his school life and social life with the training plan. While there were days where he had exhausted himself due to the amount of effort he was putting in, to a point, he felt that he would be unstoppable. With a busted quirk and a physique that would make any man inspired, he quickly brushed off any rust he had developed and displayed much untapped strength. After this time had passed, Izuku would wake around 7 in the morning on a Monday, getting dressed in his semi-private academy. He walked down the stairs to see his father, dressed up in a black suit, with a white button-up shirt and a bright red tie, while he was drinking a cup of water. The man turned his head to his son. Today's the day. 10 months of progress, all leading up to this moment. Look at you. Those broad shoulders and that muscular build. You look like you could even replace me right now. Ah shucks, Dad. That's nice of you. But let's not get delusional now. I still have plenty of years before that possibility is open. I know. I'm just proud of the man you are becoming. I'm sure your grandmother would be proud as well. Hearing this, Izuku was slightly surprised by this. His father never really spoke about his own mother before. All he knew about her was that she had died by unknown means when his father was young, around when his father was a teenager if he remembered correctly. But hearing his dad bring up his grandmother Tashi was something that, in a way, filled him with more confidence. His father would finish his drink, turning into his buff form, before leaving the home by the front door. Your sister will be coming home today, so if you can you go to the store and get some things for dinner tonight? You got it, Dad. Well then, I wish you the best in your exams, Izuku. And remember, hero work isn't just about defeating villains. He finished off in a cryptic manner. After leaping into the air, Izuku would begin to make his way to the train station, meeting up with Tenya as he did so. Today's the day. Are you excited, Izuku? Tenya asked him. Oh yeah, I wonder what kind of trials they're gonna subject us to. I tried to get my brother to give me some kind of clue, but I don't think knowledge from years ago will be helpful in this case. Probably for the best. If the exams were the same every year, then we would have several people being able to prepare and make the exam rather redundant. Fair point. I just hope that an academy like UA will make things interesting. As they were talking, a large man began to approach them, roughly being 6'3" in height. His hair was rather short due to the haircut that he was given. He walked up to them, seeing the two talking, before injecting himself in the conversation. "You guys applying to UA as well?" he shouted. "Man, I'm so excited. I'm possibly looking at my new classmates." Isuku and Tenya were reasonably surprised by the man's sudden appearance. Seeing this, Inesa quickly began to apologize to the two. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to barge into your conversation so rudely. I was just excited that I was finally meeting some other people taking the entrance exam." "Oh, it's all right. We just kinda got surprised. That's all," Tenya explained. "For what it's worth, you don't have to apologize over it. You were just getting excited." Inesa raised his head to meet the two. "Thanks. You're right though. I'm just excited to be able to go through this recommendation exam." This surprised Tenya further. "Hold on, you're taking the recommendation exam. Who recommended you?" "The Hero Association. They sent in a recommendation for me to UA, and after that, I was given the chance to go to the entrance exam." "That's quite admirable. Even my brother didn't want to give me a recommendation offer." Naturally, Izuku was intrigued by the boy, deciding to draw his full attention toward him. "What's your name, stranger? I mean, if we're going to be future classmates, I should at least know the name of my soon-to-be comrade." Inesa quickly smiled, connecting with the boy's bravado, as he soon introduced himself to the two. "The name's Inesa Yurashi. It is a pleasure to meet you too." "Likewise, name's Izuku Yagi. Let's hope that we can do our best." "So you're Ingenium's little brother? I never knew Ingenium had a brother," Inesa said with surprise. "Well, it's no secret that the Ida family is a family of heroes. My brother just tends to keep to himself regarding his private life." "I see. And what about you, Yagi? You come from a family of heroes." "Well, my father is one, but I'm not really supposed to reveal who that is." "I see. Makes sense. Well, I'm not so fortunate to be born in a hero family, but I have the aspirations to have such a career, so I don't care about such a thing. Still, it's quite an accomplishment to get recommended by the Hero Association." "Thanks. By the way, you think the rumors are true? Do you think they're changing the UA roster to have less students in the first-year course?" "Who knows?" Izuku answered. "Normally a school is meant to have a certain amount of students in each year. But since this is UA, I guess they have so much money that they can operate how they want, including how many students they want." "Man, that's terrifying. The acceptance rate was already low enough as it is, but now they're making it lower? Crazy." "Who cares? That just means anyone that gets accepted has proved themselves as the strongest amongst the other contestants." "You right." As the three approached the gates of the school, Izuku caught a glimpse of someone entering the gate. Short, blonde, curly hair. Her eyes filled with a determined gaze. It was Izumi. Though he didn't try to approach her, he stood still, not saying a word as Tenya and Inesa looked at him with confusion. "You good, Izuku?" Tenya asked him. "Yeah, you look like you've seen a ghost," Inesa added. "Huh? Oh, my bad. Just saw something that caught my interest." The two of them shrugged, before Inesa stepped forward. "Okay guys, I'm gonna get going to my area now. I hope that you guys do your best." Izuku waved at the young man, as he and Tenya also walked into the building, going the opposite direction, before being instructed to undergo the written portion of the entrance exam. To say that Izuku had no trouble answering the questions would be an understatement, as he effortlessly breezed through the questions, while others were struggling to do so. However, due to exam restrictions, he was forced to partake in the exam without his sunglasses, afraid they might be a tool used for cheating. After about 30 minutes, Izuku approached the proctor, handing in his exam, while others looked on in astonishment, aside from a particular blonde boy in the background. Snipe, who was the proctor for the exam, looked at him suspiciously. "Kid, You do know this is an hour-and-a-half exam, right? You have time to look over your answers. Unless you've done something that is against the exam regulation. Izuku chuckled slightly. Don't worry, Snipe. I have no reason to cheat my way to the top. Especially when it comes to hero work. Guess your test was just too easy. Give my thanks to Nizu when you see him. I enjoyed this little side quest. After walking back to his designated area, the other students began to gossip amongst themselves, shocked by the behavior the boy displayed. Fortunately, Snipe forced them to cease their activities. Quiet down, everyone. This is still an exam. Any further chatter will result in immediate failure. Another hour passed, before all the applicants had their test papers collected by Snipe. After finishing his collecting, Snipe left the room and allowed Present Mike to take center stage, ready to deliver the exam orientation for the practical portion. He began to speak. What's up, UA candidates? Thanks for tuning into me, your school DJ. After doing some dramatic movements with his hands, the hero began to dance, wanting to get everyone pumped. Come on and let me hear ya. But sadly, none of the students played along with the hero's ploy, as only silence filled the room. Keeping it mellow, huh? That's fine. I'll skip straight to the main show. Let's talk about how this practical exam is going to go down. Okay? Like your application said. Today you rocking boys and girls will be out there conducting 10-minute mock battles in super hip, urban settings. After I drop the mic here, you will be sent to your allocated battle stations. Sound good? His attempt for the students to engage with him once again failed, as the silence continued to persist. Man, you kids are no fun. Tenya examined the applicant card that was given to him, seeing the various numbers that were present, before noticing the differences. I see. So they're splitting us up so we can't work with our friends. A rather good idea, I say. Tenya whispered. Huh. Guess I can't team up with you. Oh well, I'm sure we'll do just fine. Izuku whispered back. Okay, let's check out your targets. There are 3 types of enemies you will be facing, each valued with different points based on their difficulty. You will earn said points if you defeat the villains in combat, with the end goal of this task being to get as many points as possible. But check it. Make sure you keep things heroic. Don't want any applicants injured as a result of injury inflicted by others. Okay? There is a 4th villain type, but this type isn't really worth it, as it's valued at 0 points. This caught Izuku's interest. A 4th type worth 0 points? This should be fun. After finishing his presentation, Present Mike continued to speak to the applicants, hoping to deliver some needed wisdom to them. Now that's all I've got for you lot today. But before you go off to your tests, I'm gonna sign off with a little present. A sample of our school's motto. As General Napoleon Bonaparte once laid down, a true hero is one who overcomes life's misfortunes. Now that's a tasty soundbite. You're ready to go beyond? Let's hear a plus ultra. The students looked on at the hero silently, as the hero gave them a thumbs up, giving them words of encouragement to do their best. Izuku, on the other hand, merely leaned back on his chair, finding no need for the teacher to give him such encouragement. He had all the confidence he needed. After the presentation with Present Mike, the students were escorted to their battle centers, with Izuku getting placed in Battle Center B, while Tenya was sent to Battle Center C. Wearing what seemed to be a black blindfold, a gray bomber jacket, jeans, and black sneakers, he leaned against the wall, observing some of the other applicants that were with him. From what he could tell, some of them looked like they were heavy hitters. Though he did not know what their quirks were, he figured that some of them were obvious based on design details, including a guy that appeared to have a drill as hair. Man, so many people with different quirks. I can picture at least a few of them making it to the hero course. Though there's something I still don't understand. Hero work isn't just about defeating villains. I wonder what Dad was talking about earlier. Perhaps he gave me a clue? Would that be considered cheating if I had insider information? I should probably stop thinking about it until the exam is over. Come to think of it, I wonder if Excuse me, a soft voice called out. Izuku turned his head to see a young girl looking at him. Her hair was auburn brown in color and short in length. Her eyes were rather large and round, almost as if they were pearls. But as he looked at her, she began to speak to him with concern. Are you okay? I didn't mean to annoy you or interrupt you, but are you sure you can do this practical exam? You're wearing a blindfold. Are you okay? I didn't mean to annoy you or interrupt you, but are you sure you can do this practical exam? You're wearing a blindfold. Staring at the girl, he found himself accidentally leaning forwards, closing in on her, before making a comment of her. You've got a pretty round face, kind of like a marshmallow. This comment naturally both weirded her out and surprised her. Hold on. You can see me under that blindfold? Indeed I can. From your short, brown hair to your large jacket. I can pretty much see the things other people can. I just wear this to tone down all the information my eyes are sending to my brain. I see. My apologies. I thought you hurt your eyes, or that you were blind. It's fine. Some people have made that mistake before. By the way, how come your jacket is large? Did you accidentally get the wrong size? She struggled to answer. Well, not exactly. My father just got a big size because he believed that I could grow into it. Grow into it, huh? I guess that makes sense. But are you sure it won't be a problem? I mean, your sleeves are practically longer than your arms. It's okay. I can manage. Whatever you say. Having moved past the obvious reason as to why the girl approached him, she continued to look at him, noticing his features in all aspects. You know, if I didn't know any better, I would have assumed you were older. Older how? Well, at first glance with the white hair, probably an old man. Fair point. You know what's funny? If my friend were here, he probably would have assumed you were trying to sabotage me. This caused the girl to freak out. Huh? And no, I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to dash. Right. Let's start. A sudden loud voice called out. Catching all the participants' attention, they spotted Present Mike standing on the tall pillar behind them. Surprised at the fact that they could hear him from so far, they were left in a daze before hearing him speak again. Get moving. There aren't any countdowns in real battles. Run, 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 listeners. You're wasting air time here. While the other students stood by, still confused by what was happening, Isuku noticed that the entrance to the battle center had opened. It generally confused him how such a thing was able to happen without creating any noise, but he took this chance to run into the battle center, with the other students only realizing once they saw him 100 meters away. This sent them on a frenzy, as they desperately tried to get into the battle center, pushing and shoving other contestants in order to try and get ahead. But once they arrived, things became more problematic for them, as they only saw piles of destroyed robots, each bearing a different number on them between 1 to 3. Further ahead, they saw Isuku, standing over his most recent defeat, all while bearing a smile on his face. And with that, I'd say my total count is up to 37 points. Hearing this information, the remaining contestants began to scramble their way through the battle center, desperately looking for any straggling robots that were around. Some of the contestants were able to make a reasonable effort, including the brown-haired girl from earlier. The point count soon approached the 50s, with some of them panicking that they would not catch up, while others began to get cocky, finding no need to eliminate anymore as they were content with their scores. The teachers observed this event from the observation room, each of them having comments on the skills of the applicants. Clearly, the examinees have no idea how many villains are present, or their locations. They have limited time, must cover a vast area, and hunt down every last target. Some use information-gathering abilities to plan out strategies, while others rely on speed to pull ahead of their peers. Of course, remaining calm under pressure can be a huge advantage, as can pure power and combat ability. The most successful students use a combination of all these tactics. They're the ones who rack up the highest scores. The principal named Nizu said in a long monologue. While the other teachers continued to observe the situation, one of them, a rather tall, dark-haired woman, made a comment. Her name was Midnight. I'd say this year's group looks promising. You make a good point, Midnight, the hero Cementos said in agreement. I'd say this year's batch is a lot more intriguing than last year's. In fact, Snipe has found a particular person of interest. Oh, is that so? Do tell us. Snipe began to divulge the information on his encounter with Izuku, finding it necessary to do so. One of the participants caught my interest after he had completed the written portion of the exam. He was able to do it in slightly over 30 minutes. This caught the other teacher's attention, as they were surprised by the reveal. 30 minutes? There's no way that could have been right. Was he just exaggerating? Snipe. There's no way such a thing is possible. A hero named Ectoplasm stated. That exam was designed to be completed just before the hour and 30 mark. I'm telling you, it's the truth. Nizu reviewed his test and everything. Perfect scores on all aspects. What's worse is that he called it a side quest. This particularly caught their attention. Never in their lives had they heard a student calling Nizu's test a side quest. So the fact that this kid of all people was the first was something that deeply worried them, specifically regarding Nizu's current mind state. It's quite all right, everyone. No need to worry. In fact, I'd say it's quite a fun surprise to hear someone call my test a side quest. Because even if the young man was able to ace my written test, actions show off a person's character more than how much they have studied. Let's see how they will all react when the real test finally arrives. Pushing a button on the main console, the sounds of rumbling began to grow louder at each battle center, all while large explosions were seen in the distance. The applicants turned their heads over to the source of the explosion, each of them being enveloped by a wave of fear. The sheer size of the cause of the explosions only horrified some and startled others. But regardless, each of them was less than thrilled at the appearance of this mighty foe, a giant robot classified as the Zero-Pointer. As a result, many began to run away from the villain, desperately scrambling through the crowds of applicants, all while they tried to keep on the lookout for more villains in a last-ditched effort to earn themselves some points. All except for Isuku, who stood still as the others passed by. So, this is that obstacle President Mike was talking about. Now this is what I call interesting, he said as he began to walk towards it. As he did so, the girl from before ran past him, stopping when she saw Izuku walking towards it. Come on, we have to get out of here, she shouted. Nah, I don't think I'll be doing that, he said calmly. In fact, I'm just gonna take this thing down. Are you insane? That thing is going to crush you. There's no way you can defeat it. Even I can't stop it with my quirk. Is that so? Well then, allow me to demonstrate to you the difference between me and the rest. Lifting up his hand, a large blue energy ball began to form, with the young man increasing its size little by little, all while the girl stood on with surprise. Normally, I've never had to increase this attack size, but for this thing, I'll show off a little bit. Well, what is that thing? Let's just say, my quirk can do a lot of things. This attack, for example, is just me manipulating the force of attraction into a physical attack. Wait, seriously? Yep, I'm not exactly creative when it comes to attack names, but for now, this attack's name is simple. After finishing the preparations for his attack, he condensed its size down, with the attack moving about erratically, with Izuku striking a simple pose as he aimed the attack. Blue. Firing the shot at the Zero-Pointer, it took some time before the robot began to break down rapidly. Whether it was because its internal parts were being destroyed, or that its body was not able to handle the massive force of attraction, it began to slow down, with several parts falling from it while the rest of it began to disappear. Seeing a large chunk of the Zero-Pointer fall towards them, Izuku grabbed Ochako, leaping away quickly, before it fell on the ground. Naturally, the girl was reasonably embarrassed. You okay there? Izuku asked her. I am fine. Okay, good. Then I suggest you better get a move on. No doubt there are still robots you want to get points from. Oh, right. I better get dash. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Time's up. The wind blew silently, as the horn blowed loudly. The girl stood still, letting go of all the tension all over her body, finally able to relax. Oh, thank goodness. It's finally over, she said with a sigh. Yeah, though I do kind of think it wasn't challenging enough. These robots weren't really all that troublesome. Really? Only you would say that after pulling off a stunt like that. Anyway, how many points do you think you got? 80 points, he said flatly. Hold on, for real? Well, I likely only got between 30 to 35. Impressive. Maybe you can tell me more about your abilities. Oh sure. Well, I can basically manipulate the force of gravity. Gravity? How so? Well, there are two functions to it. The first part is that I can counteract the force of gravity by creating an anti-gravity field around me. Oh, I get it. So you can basically nullify the effect of gravity. Cool. And the other function? Well, the other part is just the reverse. I can create a field that intensifies gravity. Interesting. Does it affect you and everyone in it? Or just those in your field? Well, it only affects those that are caught in my field. I have a few ways of applying my ability though. Oh? How so? Well, if I only want to affect a singular target, I merely have to touch them with my fingertips, and I can affect their gravity for as long as I need to. But for multiple targets, I only need to use it without any sort of contact. Though, under those conditions, the only restriction I have is a time limit. I see. Very interesting. After the exams had concluded, it took at least a couple of hours before the students were funneled out of the school. Each of them now faced with the grueling worry that they weren't going to pass the exam. But for Isuku, such a thing did not concern him. After all, from what he could gather, he got a rather good placement in the exam. For the remaining time that he was at UA, he continued to talk to the brown-haired girl, mostly with Isuku explaining the functions of his quirk to her. Aside from that, they mostly discussed smaller details. Primarily, their names, to which he found out that her identity was Ochako Uraraka. After the two left the UA campus, they parted ways with each other, with Izuku grabbing some things for dinner, before heading onto the train and arriving home. When he entered his home, he noticed that his sister had arrived home, sitting at the dining room table, while she was talking to Inko. She turned her gaze to her brother, her expression souring, while Inko turned her head as well. Oh, hey sweetie, how was the exam? Breaking out of his trance, he shook his head, before answering his mother. Oh, it went well. I'm pretty sure I got the highest score, so I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get in without any issues. Well, that's good news. Izumi here also aced her tests, so she should be able to get into the support course. I see. That's nice. Oh, by the way, I got you the stuff for dinner tonight. Thanks, honey. I hope it wasn't too troublesome. It's all good. It was a quick trip to the store, so it didn't take too long. That's good. While you're waiting for dinner, how about you help Izumi get her things to her room? I'm sure she'd appreciate the help. Sounds good. I'll get on to that right away. Spotting her luggage at the base of the stairs, Izuku carried it up, with Izumi following from behind. Entering her room, he placed the suitcase on her bed, leaving the room as he did so. Okay, looks like all your stuff is in your room. Want to show me some of the stuff you've brought over? He said in a friendly manner. But rather continue the conversation in a similar manner, she chose to act coldly at him, giving him a similar cold expression. Look, let's get something straight. Just because I'm back doesn't mean you can freely talk to me. Things are different between us. You may have a very powerful quirk, but don't go all big-headed and think that I'm weaker than you. Huh. For our mother's sake, I'm going to talk to you like a normal person, but don't think that we're on friendly terms. You got it. I guess. Good. Now leave me alone. After that long flight, I want to at least get some rest, she said as she closed her bedroom door. Okay, Izuku said softly. After their interaction concluded, Izuku walked away from the room, feeling a bit of loneliness in his heart as he did so. Back at UA, the teachers gathered together to discuss who to accept for the hero course, as well as the general studies and support course. However, one elephant was still present, an elephant that Nizu had to address. Okay, everyone, now that the exams have officially finished, we should begin our selection for our hero course students. As you are aware, we have agreed to change things regarding the hero course, having only 20 instead of 40. I have noticed that over the past few years, current-day heroes are not as strong as previous generations. In order to curb this issue, we should focus on creating quality heroes rather than inflating numbers. So, without further ado, Who do you believe we should have be part of our heroics program? After some careful consideration, each of the teachers gave out some considerations as to who should join the heroics program. Well, as we have already noted, this year's batch of applicants are impressive. Good combat capabilities, even greater rescues. Honestly, I can't see one reason for none of them to get into the heroics program. Midnight answers. I have to agree with Midnight, though I think I can speak for everyone when I say there is one obvious choice for a spot in the heroics program. Izuku Yagi. Bringing out his student folder as well as his exam stats, Izuku's profile was passed around the classroom, while Snipe continued his rant. Toshinori's son displayed rather impressive feats during the physical part of the test. He scored the highest amount of combat points, as well as earning himself a good chunk of rescue points. Naturally, I think someone like him is more than suited to join. Toshinori, who was in the room with them, couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. While he was proud of his son's accomplishment, he couldn't help but admit that Izuku did display some rather bad behavior. You're giving him too much credit, Snipe, a gravely voice called out. The identity of the man behind the voice was none other than a man by the name of Shota Aizawa. Dark and sluggish in nature, his hair covered the majority of his face, with his only noticeable features being a stubble beard and eyes that reflected no joy in them. The boy is too cocky for his own good, not just in the practical portion but also the written portion. His attitude is something that isn't hero material. Based on my observations, he seems to be self-centered and has little regard for others. I'd say we give him the boot. Now Aizawa, while I can see your reason behind your suggestion being sound, the purpose of this institution is to help remove those impurities. Izuku may be cocky now, but he is still young. He has time to nurture other aspects behind his persona. Now, are there any other suggestions? Vlad, you oversaw the recommendation exams. Any people you suggest? Out of all the recommendation students, only 3 of them stood out to me. First things first, we have Shoto and Inesa. Both students performed exceptionally well in the practical portion of the exam. As for Momo Yaoyorozu, she performed well in both aspects. Are there any objections to them being in Class 1A? Each of the teachers swayed their heads, finding no objections to having the 5 in the class. Good, so that makes 4. Any suggestions for the remaining spots? The teachers continued their meeting, suggesting different students to recommend, while also arguing with each other regarding the choices. But the results of such a discussion would not be known, as Toshinori would soon arrive home, seeing the family at the dining room table, enjoying a home-cooked meal. Welcome back, honey. Glad that you made it. Thanks, Inko. Sorry, I was stuck with Nizu for a bit before I could leave. It's fine. No stress here. Sit. Let's eat now. Say less. Toshinori responded, having developed an appetite. The family ate their food calmly, with both parents asking Izumi all sorts of questions regarding her stay on Island, to which she calmly explained all the work that she had done. For the most part, her work consisted of creating all sorts of different inventions, including one that came walking down the stairs, making its first formal appearance. Honey? What is that thing? Inko asked her. Oh, this is the latest iteration of my invention. I call it Mekamaru. I see. Just make sure you don't leave it out. Okay? Yes, Mum. I'll make sure I keep Mekamaru from roaming around. The 4 continued to eat dinner together, sharing a special moment together while the hours of the night passed. But Izuku still felt the loneliness that he experienced moments ago. Despite him and his sister talking to each other, he still felt that she was keeping her distance from him, something that over time began to hurt his heart. This routine would continue for some time until eventually, 2 letters were sent to their home, each one bearing the UA insignia on the red candle wax seal. Izuku, Izumi, it's here. Your test results from UA are here. Izumi grabbed her letter from her mother, deciding to open it in her room, while Izuku merely stared at it, before his mother handed him the letter. There, he would wait for a short while, sitting at his desk as he carefully opened the letter, finding a hologram projector? After removing the device from the envelope, it began to display an image of Nizu, who was currently sitting at his desk, exuding authority despite his short stature. He began to speak. Greetings, Mr. Yagi. I am principal of this fine academy. But for our sake, you can just call me Nizu. Now, normally, it would be All Might that would speak to the recipients of these letters. However, you have sparked my interest after much discussion. Izuku was slightly nervous, maintaining his cool demeanor as he continued to watch. Mr. Yagi, during my assessment, much of the staff, myself included, have noticed that you display much power and strength. I have no doubt your father had a hand in developing your skills. It has also been noted that you display signs of arrogance because of said strength. While I have no issue with confidence, I won't hesitate to resort to drastic measures if the staff feels that you can't tone it down a notch. Now on to the meat of the message. Despite some skepticism, you aced the written test and did spectacularly well on the practical. Based on that, you are more than qualified to join the UA Heroics program. Nice! Now, before attending this school, you are to understand that as a student of our academy, you are to treat both fellow students, staff, and the public with respect. Because of the public's faith in this institution, we are hoping that you will showcase the desire to show them that you have their best interests at heart. But that will come in due time. For now, I congratulate you. Welcome to UA High. Izuku smiled as he heard this last part. Oh, I can't wait. After exiting his room, he met with his mother, giving her a thumbs up before she hugged her son in excitement. Oh, my baby, I can't believe you got in. Well, is that really true? Well, I can believe, but still, this is great. My baby boy, you're growing up more and more every day. You bet, but I'll always be your son, no matter how old I get. The two share a moment together, while in the background, Izumi sat in her room, smiling slightly, as a big congratulations text hovered in front of her. She had gotten into the support course. What was going on in her mind, even she didn't know. But what she did know was that she was going to prepare, not only to hone her skills further, but to try and build something. Something that could defeat her brother and show him that she was not weak. Weeks would soon pass after the two received their acceptance letters, with Izuku looking at himself in the mirror as he posed in front of it, while wearing his new UA uniform. Because of UA's changed uniform policy, students were allowed to customize their own uniforms, albeit with only minor changes. The primary color of Izuku's uniform was obsidian black, with the secondary color being forest green. While he continued to pose in front of the mirror, he would receive a call on his phone from Tenya, who was currently riding the train to UA. He began to speak. Izuku, where are you? I didn't see you at your station this morning. Yeah, sorry, Tenya. I was busy with some things. Nothing too crazy. Izuku, school starts in 45 minutes. You won't be able to get there on time. If the principal finds out you're late on your first day, who knows what will happen? Relax, dude. I'll get there. I bet I'll even get there faster than you. Izuku, I'm being serious. Enough with the jokes, you have to dash. But before Tenya could finish, Izuku hung up the call. He hung up on me? He shouted at the top of his lungs. Exiting the bathroom, Izuku grabbed his bag from the ground, before heading to the front door. His mother, waiting for him at the front, gave her son a farewell before he began to head out of the house. Izuku. Yes, Mom. His mother paused for a moment, collecting her thoughts before speaking once again. I'm very happy that you're following a career path that is noble, but I want you to be careful. When your father first told me of his job, I was understandably terrified. At any moment, I could have gotten a phone call or be told by someone that your father was killed, and at that time, I wasn't sure if I was prepared to deal with that reality. But I am thankful that I was able to live for many years with my husband, and I want you to be able to do the same for your future wife. So please, stay safe, okay? Izuku understood his mother's concern. After all, anyone in her position would be afraid if they found out their child was going down a dangerous road. But instead of arguing with her about it, he gave her a confident smile before lifting up his sunglasses. Don't worry, Mum. I'll be safe. After all, nothing or no one can realistically hurt me. Besides, like my father before me, I will become the strongest. Finishing his conversation with his mother, He began to make his way to UA, using his powers of manipulating attraction. He was able to travel large distances with little to no effort, making it to the school's gates. He would wait at the front for some time, until he saw Tenya running towards him. Giving his friend a wave, Tenya was naturally confused by such a predicament. "Hold on. You're here. But ho dash. My quirk made it really easy to get here." A small moment of silence passed, as Tenya accepted that Isuku was just able to do such a thing, before the two walked over into the main campus building. It is here that Isuku began to strike a conversation with his longtime friend. "So, you think Inesa is going to be in this class with us?" "Who knows? Just because a student gets a recommendation, it doesn't automatically mean they get into the hero course." "Well, I hope he is. I like that guy. So much energy to everything he does. A guy like him would motivate me a ton." A fair point. I too was inspired by his attitude to things, always putting the effort in. By the way, since we're talking about our possible classmates, what do you think they'll be like? You think some might be stronger than us? Well, it's certainly a possibility. I mean, respectively, some people are bound to have better abilities than others. Perhaps we'll see someone like that here. Well, maybe for you, but in my case, I highly doubt that. Izuku, sometimes I worry that your ego might be a bit inflated. Inflated? Tenya, throughout most of my life, I have been in situations where the people that try to look down on me end up facing the realization that I'm just stronger than them. Why wouldn't my ego be naturally big? You do have a point. Look, when the day comes that someone actually beats me in a fight, that will be the day where I humble myself and not act all high and mighty. But, in my defense, I try to keep my ego in check anyway. Well, I hope you continue to do that. The teachers here aren't going to be like the teachers at Sumai. Will do, best buddy. The two walked through the halls of UA, inspecting every classroom they came across, only to find that it was not the classroom they were designated. However, after some time had passed, the two eventually found the door to their classroom, amazed at the sheer size of it. Wow, guess Nizu doesn't play around when it comes to accommodating students. Izuku commented. Seriously, look at the size of this thing. We should focus on heading inside rather than getting curious at the door size. You're right. Time to ready ourselves for future classmates for the next 3 years. After opening the door to the classroom, they were surprised to see only a handful of students present. One of them was a rather prestigious girl near the back of the class. The other was a rather gloomy, dual-haired boy that sat next to her. And the last one was a relatively short-sized boy with what looked to be grapes coming from his head. Huh. Quite the cast of characters we have here. As he turned his head, his eyes were fixed on one other student who was present. His grin widened as he saw Katsuki, sitting completely still as he made sure not to make eye contact with him. But Izuku, doing what he did best, decided to get under his skin. "Hey Kaken," he said as he approached. "How's it going?" But Katsuki did not respond to the boy's words, merely turning away as he got closer. What's wrong? Are you still upset with me that I showed you that I am stronger than you?" "Go away," he muttered. "Huh? Sorry, I couldn't hear you? What was that you were saying?" "I said go away," he said louder. "Sorry dude, you're gonna need to speak you dash." "I said go away," he shouted. This resulted in the other 4 students watching on, while Izuku decided to back off. Okay, my bad. Sorry man. It's just been a while since I've seen you. I just wanted to relive some nostalgic memories, I guess. Tell me something, how is Tsubasa doing? Still upset with me as well?" Katsuki merely turned away, before speaking. "Haven't seen him for a while." The guy went up and disappeared. "But I doubt you care. I mean, while the guy did bully Izumi, he was still a kid making many mistakes. I figured I'd ask since I was considering trying to talk to him again. But if you haven't seen him, guess I can't do anything about it." Katsuki just ignored the boy, hoping to at least return to his brooding session. Izuku, having finally grown accustomed to his environment, took a seat behind Katsuki, looking out the window, while the sun shined brightly. "Oh yeah, this is definitely going to be fun. Shortly after Katsuki's conversation with Izuku, the classroom began to fill up with more and more students, some of which were distinct from one another due to various design differences between them. Many were normal-looking, with the only differences being that of their hair colors, while some were drastically different due to their mutations. One guy had 6 arms, another had proportions of a frog, another with a bird-shaped head, and one more having a dinosaur head. Things quickly became lively inside the room, as various students began to talk amongst themselves, forming new connections with one another. But Izuku, being the cheeky young man he was, tried to exude a level of mysteriousness behind him, going over the top and trying to look as cool as possible. Naturally, some were rather confused by this behavior. All but a few, Tenya Ida and Ochako Uraraka. Hey, so is Izuku always like this? What do you mean? Tenya asked the girl. Also, how do you know his name? I mean, is he always so childish? As for how I know his name, he and I talked to each other after the entrance exam. I see. Well, from what I can gather, he does tend to lack discipline in areas of schooling. But considering he can retain information better than the average person, it made sense why he was able to pass middle school. Plus, with the kind of power he has, it sort of gave him a big head. Not like a superiority complex, but something along the lines of it. Well, I just hope he realizes that the world doesn't revolve around him. Otherwise, the media is going to eat him alive. Yeah, I doubt that will be the case, he said as a final comment. After a few more minutes of talking, things became heavy for the class, as from the corner of the room, a sudden yellow creature appeared in front of them. Only it wasn't any abnormal creature. It was instead a rather monotone teacher, having gotten up from the floor, while covered in what looked to be a yellow sleeping bag. Guess I should consider myself fortunate. You all got quiet as soon as I appeared. Though it did take you 8 seconds, I'll give you a pass on that. This was largely met by a collective expression of shock and confusion. They wondered who it was that this guy was, but the teacher did not pay much attention to this. Hello, I'm Shota Aizawa, your teacher. The class were quite surprised by this revelation, still unable to process the information, while Aizawa, not wanting to waste any more time, pulled out what looked to be a PE uniform. Right, let's get to it. Put these on and head outside. After following the teacher's instructions, the class of 20 students lined up in a 4x5 block at the PE grounds, the sun beaming down on them while Aizawa walked over to the front. To say they were surprised that the man wearing all black was not sweating under his costume was an understatement, as they each tried to come up with their own theory as to how he was not sweating. This was soon interrupted, when he divulged the purpose of their presence at the PE grounds. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, time to go over the purpose of you being here. Since this is your first day here, you might think that things are going to be like they were in elementary school or junior high. Well, unfortunately for you, that won't be the case. Today, we will be conducting the first quirk assessment test and figure out where you lot scale in terms of your overall stats. This largely had many of the students quite perplexed. A test on the first day? There's no way that could be right. While some tried to rationalize it, others were a bit annoyed, including one pink-skinned girl who just wanted to go to orientation. Hold on, we're doing a quirk assessment test? But why? We're gonna miss orientation, Mina asked the teacher. If each and every one of you wants to make it to the big leagues one day, then you can't waste any time on pointless ceremonies. Here at UA, we're not tethered to the traditions of the school system. That means I get to run my class however I see fit. While the other members of the class reacting appropriately to such a proclamation, Aizawa continued with his monologue. So far, you've all been taking standardized tests without ever having the chance to use your quirks in physical exams. It's irrational for this country to continue this facade that each and every one of us are created equally. Without establishing the differences, they prevent those with the most power to excel. One day, the Ministry of Education will learn. Grabbing a soft ball from his pocket, he tossed it over to Izuku, with the ball stopping in midair, before dropping into his hand, likely due to his activation of Infinity to show off to the others. Yagi, you managed to get the most points on the entrance exam for the combat category. What was your farthest distance throw with a softball in junior high? Well, if I had to make a wild guess, I'd say about 56 meters. Ha! Only 56, Katsuki shouted. I managed to get 67 meters, so take that. Ah, good for you, Bakugo, he said with a playful tone. But the only question I have for you was whether got that distance because you could have done better, or if that was all you could do. This resulted in the blonde young man to get a bit embarrassed and greatly annoyed. Okay, if we're done talking, then try doing it with your quirk. Anything goes, just stay in the circle. I see. That's good. Because I was a little worried that things were going to get a bit ugly. After getting into a throwing stance, Izuku threw the ball in the air, firing a small repulsing blast at it, and allowing it to fly further and further away. When the ball eventually landed on the ground, the device in Aizawa's hand calculated the distance, showing that it had reached a distance of 1,200 meters. All of you need to know your maximum capabilities. It's the most rational way of figuring out your potential as a pro hero, he said, displaying the number to the others. This caused many of the characters to gasp in shock, finding it overwhelming that the current class weirdo was the one to display such power. Whoa, 1,200 meters? Are you kidding me? How did you even do that? Well, I don't mean to brag, but it's 'cause I'm just that guy, that's all. Oh, big deal. I bet I could get better than that easily, Katsuki barked loudly. Being handed another softball by Aizawa, Katsuki got into throwing position, his hand exploding slightly, before throwing the ball in the air. Letting out a large explosion, the ball skyrocketed into the sky, landing shortly after, and the distance being sent to Aizawa. 705 meters. Quite impressive, Bakugo. Huh? Aw, it's okay, Katsuki. I'm sure you'll get to my distance soon, Izuku said to the young man. This caused Katsuki to get reasonably upset, while Aizawa started clapping his hands, grabbing their attention. All right, let's not get distracted. Each of you have 3 years here to become a hero. While all of you are still children, it is in your best interest to not waste your time here with games and playtime, especially in today's test. Whoever comes in last has none, and will be expelled immediately. Some of the students were caught off guard by this, each voicing their own complaints at the teacher, before being humbled by him. Like I said, I get to decide how this class runs. Understand? If that's a problem, you can head home right now. But sir, it's only our first day. Besides, we already purchased our uniforms. If you send us home, then how are we supposed to get our money back? Mina said, complaining. Yeah, it's not fair, Mineta added. Not fair? Then let me ask you this. Do you think natural disasters are fair? Or power-hungry villains? What about catastrophic accidents that wipe out whole cities? Are those all fair? No, the world is full of unfairness. Therefore, it's a hero's job to try to combat that unfairness. If you want to be a pro, you're going to have to push yourself to the brink. For the next 3 years, UA will throw one terrible hardship after another at you. So go beyond. Plus Ultra Style. Show me it's no mistake that you're here. Some of the students reacted with hesitation, trying to desperately keep their cool, while others were unfazed by this level of hazing, including Tenya, who began to drink his water bottle. Now then, we're just wasting time by talking. Let the games begin. During the next hour or so, the students of Class 1A participated in the various trials that Aizawa had prepared for them. From a 50-meter dash to repeat sidesteps, grip strength, and long jump. Each test that came his way, Izuku seemed to be able to overcome most of the challenges, quickly establishing himself as an all-rounder. When all the tests eventually concluded, the results showed as the chart showed each of the students' designated spots, with the unfortunate individual in last place being one Toru Hagakure who, despite her usefulness and stealth, was still just someone with the capabilities of an average human. Expecting to be sent home due to her position, she was ready to head off, only for Aizawa to stop her with his words. And I was lying, no one's going home. That was just a rational deception to make sure you gave it your all in the tests. Understandably, most of the students were not a fan of this deception, especially some of the weaker students, who were basically shaking in their boots during the whole ordeal. Izuku meanwhile only laughed at the outcome, finding the hilarity in the reactions of those that were panicking. Okay, that was a bit cruel of me. I'm sorry. Continue. That's it. We're done for the day. Pick up a syllabus in the classroom. Read it over before tomorrow morning. But remember, just because you got off easy today, that does not give you an incentive to slack off. Remember, each of you are trying to become heroes. If you don't grow from your current results, then clearly something isn't going right. Now enjoy the rest of your day. Things are only going to be tougher tomorrow when your actual training begins. So make sure you're prepared. With a collective response, the class of students acknowledged the teacher's words, before heading off to do their own devices, heading home in droves. For Izuku and Ida, they were walking together in an orderly fashion, talking to each other like they had always done. In particular, their thoughts on the test that took place. Man, I was bored. Honestly, I think our new teacher went a bit easy on us. Easy how? I mean, I get that the whole point of the test was for us to get a grasp on the limits of our powers, but he could have at least made the tests harder. I see. Only you would think of something like that. Still, I was a bit concerned by Mr. Aizawa's approach to class. But I trust the school's judgment. UA is the top program. Even so, lying is downright immoral. That's fair. You can't exactly gain the trust of your students if you mess with them like that. Still, I wonder if he's always monotone, or if it's a work thing. A work thing? You know, to be all intimidating and that. Oh, I see. Hey, a voice calls out. Are you two going to the station? I'll join you guys. Appearing from behind, the two, Ochako made her way towards them, running in a full sprint to catch up to them, before stopping a few steps away. Oh, you're the girl from before. I believe your name was Uraraka, right? Yep, that's right. I'm Achiko Uraraka. Pleasure to meet you too. If I'm not mistaken, you are Tenya Ida. That's correct. And hello again to you, Izuku. Hello, Marshmallow Girl. Good to see that we're still talking to each other even after the exams. Marshmallow Girl? Tenya says with a questioning tone. It's a whole thing. We don't need to get into it. Okay. As the three walked together, they began to talk with each other, forming a sort of new friendship with each other. Primarily, they were discussing the possible endeavors they would face in the hero program, with Ochako understandably worried due to her lack of physical strength and actual battle tactics. But this was soon changed because of Izuku's intervention, who was currently trying to probe information from her about what her favorite snack was, comparing it to his own personal favorite. This resulted in slight disagreement between them, with the two of them slightly getting annoyed at the other for their opinion. Despite that, it never erupted into a major fight, as they were able to part ways without ruining the newly formed friendship between the three. After the next school day arrived, everyone went through the motions of ordinary high school life. While it wasn't any different from what things were like in middle school, there were some notable differences that made things far better. Fancier classroom, better cafeteria food, competent staff. It had all the makings to showcase its superiority to other schools. And the cherry on top, an additional subject specifically designed to cater to those in the hero program, where in the distance we see Tashinori, now in his buff form running through the halls and entering the 1A classroom. I am here, a loud voice called out, coming through the door like a hero. Some of the students' eyes began to beam brightly, as the very sight of the hero began to fully set in. I can't believe it's really All Might, a boy named Denki says aloud. No way, so he really is a teacher. This year is totally going to be awesome, Ajiro adds. During this ordeal, some of the students pointed out the outfit he was wearing, calling it retro due to it being dubbed his Silver Age costume. But regardless, All Might continued his introductory speech. Welcome to the most important class of UA High. Think of it as Heroing 101. Here you will learn the basics of being a pro, and what it means to fight in the name of good. So without further ado, let's get into it. As today's lesson will pull no punches, he said, pulling out a card with the word battle written over it. This caused many to be pumped up with excitement, including Katsuki, who was way too enthusiastic for this kind of training, largely because he believed it was the perfect opportunity to fight Izuku and show him who the top dog was. However, Izuku was rather unamused by this, feigning ignorance to Katsuki's behavior, while trying his best to pay attention. But we cannot forget one of the most important keys to being a hero, and that is looking good. From the wall next to him, panels began to open, with briefcases labeled with different numbers being on display. These were their hero costumes. These were designed for you based on your quirk registration forms, as well as the request you sent in before school started. So, once you get your costume cases, get yourselves ready and head on over to Ground Beta. Complying with All Might's orders, the students went to their separate change rooms, where they got into their costumes. After arriving at Ground Beta as instructed, All Might began to slightly jitter in excitement at seeing the costumes. They say that clothes make the pros, young ladies and gentlemen, and behold, you are the proof. Take this to heart. From now on you are all heroes in training. Now, shall we get started, you bunch of newbies? It was then that we got to see Isuku coming out of the darkness, wearing his own hero costume. Though, to say his current outfit was a hero costume was a bit of an overstatement, as it was merely a dark blue zip-up jacket with a high collar, matching slim-fit black pants, and dark sneakers. Yo Yagi, I'm digging the kicks. What's the name of that pair? Denki asked him. Oh, these? These are just the Orca 12s. I'll admit, these are quite comfortable. So I figured why not have them as part of my hero costume. Wait, those are the Orca 12s. How did you get them so early? They don't come out for another month. I mean, I could tell you, but that wouldn't exactly be fair to you. Man, how come the cool-looking guys get all the best stuff? Denki thought to himself. I'm so jealous. Don't worry, man. You'll get your chance to get them. Though, I'm a bit more confused by your costume. What's the theme behind it? Well, the costume is mostly for the cool factor. Besides, I kind of forgot to send in my specifications to the support department, so I just grabbed whatever was in my closet and sent it in. I see. That kind of makes sense. I take it that it's from some kind of concert? I mean, it kind of looks like rock band merch. Well, kind of. It was my old man's merch he got from an old band he supported back in his day. I only kept it 'cause it looked cool. But seriously, I wish I could pull off a hero costume like yours. Hey, don't beat yourself up about it. You'll get an opportunity to change your costume. I mean, considering what other people's costumes look like, yours ain't too bad. You mean that? Of course. Why wouldn't I mean it? Wow. Thank you, man. Now that you're ready, it's time for combat training, All Might shouted, interrupting their conversation. Tenya raised his hand in the air, interrupting All Might before he could continue. Sir, this is the fake city from our entrance exam. Does that mean we will be conducting urban battles again? Not quite. I'm gonna move you 2 steps ahead. Move of the villain fights you see on the news take place outside. However, statistically speaking, run-ins with the most dastardly evildoers take place indoors. Think about it, backroom deals, home invasions, secret underground lairs. Truly intelligent criminals stay hidden in the shadows. For this training exercise, you'll be split into teams of good guys and bad guys, and fight 2-on-2 indoor battles. Suddenly, one of the female members of the class, a girl named Tsuyu, raised her hand in concern. Isn't this a little advanced for us? The best training is what you get on the battlefield. But remember, you can't be just punch a robot this time. You're dealing with actual people now. Any questions? After offering the students the chance to ask questions about the exercise, several responses were sent his way, with some of them being concerned with whether or not there was a risk of expulsion, and most of them either being disturbing or utter nonsense. This caused All Might to be understandably frustrated, before moving on to the formal part of the exercise. Pulling out what appeared to be a script, the hero began to detail the scenario in full. Listen up. The situation is this. The villains have hidden a nuclear missile somewhere in their hideout. The heroes must try and foil their plans. To do that, the good guys either have to catch the evildoers or recover the weapon. Likewise, the bad guys succeed if they protect their payload or catch the heroes. Now, time is limited, so we will choose teams by drawing lots. But isn't there a better way than this? Tenya asks the hero with slight concern. This prompted Isuku to quickly shift over to his location, using his knowledge to divulge the reasoning behind this action. Ida, don't you remember what your brother always said to us? Pro heroes often have to team up with heroes from other agencies on the spot. Sometimes you can't team up with the heroes you work well with. So the best way to train us in this exercise is to team us up based on chance. I see. Forgive my rudeness. No sweat. Let's draw. After some necessary time was spent with each student drawing a letter, the students began to go through the motions of being organized into their teams. Largely, the team combinations that were formed did have slight disadvantages, mostly due to quirk combinations. For Team A, it consisted of Izuku Yagi and Ochako Uraraka. For Team B, it consisted of Mizo Shoji and Shoto Todoroki. For Team C, it consisted of Minoru Mineta and Momo Yaoyorozu. For Team D, it consisted of Katsuki Bakugo and Tenya Ida. For Team E, it consisted of Mina Ishido and Yuga Aoyama. For Team F, it consisted of Rikito Sato and Koji Koda. For Team G, it consisted of Denki Kaminari and Kyoka Jairu. For Team H, it consisted of Fumikage Tokoyami and Tsuyu Azui. For Team I, it consisted of Toru Hagakure and Mashireo Ojiro. For Team J, it consisted of Hantasiro and Eijiro Kirishima. Izuku, seeing the combinations firsthand, couldn't help but feel sorry for some of the teams, as a majority of them consisted of rather weak quirk pairings. Wow, talk about a major disadvantage for everyone else. I mean, one team has a guy that looks like he can generate a lot of ice, and another team just has a guy that looks like he produces purple balls from his head. Still, I guess I can't fault the lot system for that. I mean, I can certainly see the flaws in it, but it can't be that bad. You're just judging these guys' powers too quickly. I guess. After the teams were formed, All Might grabbed out 2 different boxes, labeled Hero and Villain. He began to shout once again. I declare that the first teams to fight will be these guys, he said, pulling out a black ball with the letter D and a white ball with the letter A. Team A will be the heroes, while Team D will be the villains. Everybody else can head to the monitoring room to watch. As the students began to move out of the area, Katsuki stared at Izuku with disdain in his eyes. For so long, his inferiority had bubbled into something of a complex, thinking that Izuku was lording over his strength and showcasing his superiority to him in order to make him feel weak. Well, he wasn't going to let that happen today. Today was going to be the day that he took the spot of being the strongest. And when he did, he was going to enjoy it. As for Izuku, he didn't really notice the young man's stare, picking at his ear, while watching the clouds through his blindfold. I wonder if I can ask Dad to give me money for snacks later. After the remaining students had left the area and made their way to the monitoring room, All Might made his way to Tenya and Katsuki, divulging some more information to both teams, before heading off to the monitoring room himself. Bad guys, you can go in and set up. You have 5 minutes before the good guys get let loose and the battle starts. Young Ida and young Bakugo, remember this, the key to being successful in this challenge is to embody villainy. Think from the perspective of an evildoer. Got it, Tenya responded. If things go too far, I'll step in. Understood, Tenya repeated. But while Tenya made his way inside, all Katsuki could do was seethe in anger, hyping himself up in order to motivate himself. After the two walked through the corridors of the fake building, they made their way to the fake weapon, with Tenya taking point, while Katsuki hung around behind him. Even though this is training, it pains me to be aligned with criminal behavior, Tenya said out loud. As the two entered into the room where the fake weapon was located, Tenya approached it, knocking his hand on it as if he were knocking on a door, checking to see if the weapon was active. So this is the weapon we must protect. Fake, of course. Hey, what's your relationship with him? That white-haired clown. My relationship with Yagi? He and I are just good friends since childhood. But now that you ask me this, there's something I have to ask. Why are you always angry at him? I mean, you always get upset when he one-ups you or even utters a word in your direction. Despite asking the young man a question, Katsuki never responded, almost as if he was busy with some sort of inner monologue. An inner monologue about his desire to defeat Izuku. Over with Izuku and Ochako, they were busy waiting outside, watching out for All Might's signal. But while they were waiting, Ochako couldn't help but probe information out of her partner. So, You and Katsuki. What's all that about? Oh, you mean with how he was trying to one-up me and all that? Well, he and I have a rather complex relationship. How so? Well, the guy is rather big-headed when it comes to his powers. Oh, so kind of like you are? Izuku didn't say anything in response, slightly feeling insulted, but understanding her line of reasoning. Anyway, picture this. After you awaken your powerful explosion quirk, you're treated like royalty for a few months, being the hot topic of town as people believe that if you're going to be the next big thing in hero society when you get older. But suddenly, out of nowhere, a well-mannered, gorgeous, white-haired boy suddenly steals your thunder, revealing that not only can he do a lot more cooler things than you could, but has vastly more abilities than you. So in order to get that spotlight back, you spend the next few years of your existence trying to show off to other people, only to end up embarrassing yourself as a result. So, yeah, that's the history between us. Oh wow, that was something. Also, he went ahead and bullied my sister. Whoa, now hold on just a minute. You have a sister. Yep, twin sister to be precise. Although, she and I don't exactly get along anymore. Why? It's a whole thing really. I won't bore you with the details. Okay, I'll keep that under advisement. Their conversation was soon interrupted by All Might, whose voice blared out loudly through the speakers. All right, let's begin the indoor combat training. Team A and Team D, your time starts now. With their focus set on the exercise, Izuku and Ochako began to walk inside the building, making their way inside, while the other students watched on from the monitoring room. Pay attention, kids. Think about what you would do as you observe your classmates, All Might said to them. Taking their teacher's words seriously, the remaining students watched on with focus as they saw the heroes walk through the building. So, about Bakugo, since you know about him the most, are there any sort of signs I need to look out for? Any ways I can defeat him if I end up running into him? Oh right, strategy. Honestly, best course of action would be to try and keep a fair distance. Why's that? See, the way his quirk works is that he secretes this nitroglycerin-like sweat from the palms of his hands. He can essentially make his hands explode from that method. But just because his hands can explode, it doesn't mean that he's good in a fight. He's only good when you let him get up in your face, in close quarters. Keep a good enough distance, and you'd essentially put him in a bad position. Is that right? A voice called out. Appearing in front of the two, Katsuki Bakugo, who had departed from Tenya's side in order to try and get the jump on the two. But rather than try and attack them immediately, he stood at the other side of the hall, catching their attention. Yagi, this time we settle the score. Once and for all. Well, Bakugo, I'm gonna have to decline that offer. I mean, this is a team exercise we're doing. So wouldn't it be better for you to have your teammate with you? No, I refuse to allow this to continue. Ever since you got your powers, I've always been the one on the sidelines, while you basked in the spotlight. Everyone praising you because you had a better quirk. It's unacceptable. So now, I want to show everyone that you aren't the strongest anymore. I want to show them that I am better. I want to hurt you so bad that they'll have to stop the fight. So fight me. His words echoed throughout the building, completely weirding out Ochako, while simultaneously not getting a reaction out of Izuku, who kept picking at his ears. Ochako. As much as I don't want to engage with him, it would be better if we split up to cover more ground. You think you can find the bomb for me while I do this? Yeah. I can do that for ya. Cool. I'll make sure to keep him busy for you. As Ochako began to run off, Izuku stared down at his opponent through his blindfold, taunting him with a small smile, before continuing to speak to him. So, you really want to do this, Katsuki? I mean, no offense, but I don't think that you and I are on a comparable level anymore. After all, you're a small fish in quite a large pond now. Oh, just you wait. I'll wipe that smug grin off your face once I show you just how much I've grown. His hands began to ignite with explosions, blasting towards him, while preparing to catch him off guard with a nasty explosion from behind. But rather than rely on his barrier, Izuku chose to merely dodge the attack, kicking Katsuki in the gut before stepping away with swagger. Unaffected greatly by the attack, Katsuki continued his attacks head-on, engaging in fierce combat with his enemy. But Izuku, being confident in his abilities, merely took this time to play with his food, dodging every attack that Katsuki threw at him, while only using physical attacks to defend himself. All around them, the inside of the building began to fall apart, with several walls being destroyed because of Katsuki's explosions, as well as his head when Izuku kicked him away. Their fight continued for some time, with Katsuki becoming more furious by each passing second, as Izuku, now no longer taking the fight seriously, began to move like he was dancing, moonwalking away from Katsuki's attacks, while posing in front of him. It upset Katsuki so much, to the point where a dark red color could be seen all over his face. He didn't think that he could be toyed with like this. He refused to be someone's plaything anymore. "No, I refuse to allow you to surpass me anymore," he shouted. "Kind of late, dude. Believe me when I say this to you. No matter what you do, if you keep acting like this, there is no way you'll be able to reach my level." His enemy's words echoed in his mind, making his anger skyrocket to the stratosphere, all while it looked like steam was literally emanating from his head. "Shut up. Shut up. Just shut up." Noticing a small glow from his gauntlets, he laughed violently before aiming at Izuku. This caught All Might's attention as prior to the exercise, he got a quick view to what each student's support item did. Based on what he saw from Katsuki's file, it didn't look good, as he began to panic. "Young Bakugo, don't do it. You'll kill him. He'll be fine as long as he dodges." Slowly pulling the pin on his gauntlet, he gave Izuku a crazed smile before pulling it out fully. This caused a powerful explosion to come rushing towards Izuku, ready to incinerate him for good. However, giving only a small smile, he began to lift up his finger, with a small blue orb forming at the top of his index finger. He fired the blast toward Katsuki, with the attractive force causing his attack to be pulled into the center of the attack, like a black hole, absorbing the attack completely. After the attack had fully disappeared, the young man's eyes widened in shock, as he was unable to process what had just occurred. Soon after, his body began to shake uncontrollably. "Welp, now that I've showcased to you just how powerful I am, probably for the best that you surrender." "How? That blast should have been enough to take you out? How did you dash?" "Well, Katsuki, thing about that is, even if I didn't use my attack just now, you wouldn't have hit me. But dash. Dude, you have to face reality. There was no way you could ever beat me in a real fight. Your only reason for getting stronger was to beat me instead of wanting to save people. Motivation to beat someone can only get you so far. And even then, there's no guarantee that you'll even match their level. If you continue to do things like you have already, then you'll never even make it in the top 100. Feeling as if he was being lectured, Katsuki got slightly upset, trying to pull a sneak attack, only for Izuku's infinity to protect him from the attack. "Dude, did you not listen to what I just said? It's pointless." "Shut up. You think you're so wise, telling me that I can never surpass you, that I'll never be past the top 100. But don't act so high and mighty. If you were born without that power, would you still be so brave against me? If you were quirkless, would you have stood against me? So the only thing that I know is that without that power, you're nothing." Wow, quite the speech there, buddy. It's a good thought experiment. But there's no point in thinking about something like that. All I know is that I have an exercise to win. Over with Tenya, he was busy trying to get into contact with Katsuki, startled by the large explosion that had suddenly went off. "Bakugo, come in. Give me a status report. Where are you?" But he was unable to get hold of him, as Izuku, taking out the villain's earpiece, began to speak to Tenya. "Hey buddy, so bad news. Your partner here has been taken care of." What? "Yep, had him tied up after our sparring session. But unlike your partner here, I know you're a reasonable guy. Just tell me what it's going to take to have you give over that weapon, and I'll see if I can do anything." Hearing that his partner had been apprehended, Tenya was slightly annoyed, having been put in a disadvantageous position. But he was not willing to lose this exercise. Although he didn't want to resort to this, He knew that having a villainous side would be advantageous in this exercise. He had to embrace villainy in order to become a hero. Foolishness, Yagi. Ha! As if I would give you the weapon in my possession. Even if you have captured my associate, I will stop at nothing to ensure that the weapon does not get in your hands. Oh, so you're doing it like this, huh? He said with a sigh. All right, but I hope you know that I'm not the only one who is capable of defeating you. After throwing the earpiece back to Katsuki, he began to contact Ochako through his own earpiece. Hey, Uraraka, you found the bomb yet? Yep, I found it. It looks like Ida is here too. Ah, and can you tell me what he's doing exactly? She observed her fellow classmate, watching him act out his villainous persona, with a slight feeling of laughter coming from her. He's pretending to be a villain in the corniest way possible. I see. Do you know what floor you're on? Yeah, near the middle of the 5th floor. Okay, cool. I can get there right away if you want to dash. Nah, I'll be fine. I can take care of him. Are you sure? Yep, just leave it to me. Revealing herself to Tenya, he began to go through the motions of his villainous act, pretending to be dastardly villain, while Ochako watched on. Uraraka, it seems as though you have finally managed to find weapon. Well, in the name of all that is villainy, I will not allow you to apprehend me or take away the wee dash. Before Tenya could finish his monologue, he felt himself getting heavy. Or rather, he felt himself get pulled to the ground, as if the gravity around him increased several times. He suddenly fell to the ground, unable to move, while Ochako began to walk past him. Sorry, Tenya. As much as I would want to have this fight prolonged, we only have a limited amount of time before the exercise is over. So I want to end things quickly, she said before touching the weapon. In the monitoring room, the students looked on with astonishment at the sight before them. Or rather, they were completely in shock at the abilities on display. All Might congratulated the two, screaming into the microphone, while the speakers blared out. Your indoor combat training is over. The hero team wins. As his voice echoed throughout the building, Katsuki grew irritated at the result. You've got to be kidding me. This is the worst, he said with a strain in his voice. Katsuki, seeing you like this, it doesn't exactly bring me joy. I mean, it's a little funny, but not enough to excuse what you did as a kid, especially with how you treated my sister. Huh? You mean that stuff with Izumi? Well, who else am I talking about? It's not like I have multiple sisters. Katsuki scoffed at him for a moment. Please, if there's anything I don't like more than someone stronger than me, it's some weaker than me looking down on me, as if I was unable to do anything myself. That's what this is about? Because your ego couldn't comprehend that someone weaker than you offered to help you? Dude, you've got issues. So what? She was looking down on me. She should have learned not to mess with me. Dude, have you not once considered that she was just showing you compassion? You guys were best friends until you got that quirk of yours, and for what? Because she was weaker than you? Here's a little word of advice. You could be the strongest guy in the room, but still be defeated by a simple strategy if you allowed that to happen. And considering how poorly you performed, you'd be defeated within seconds. How dare you? Look, we can argue about this all day, but there would be no point. Because deep down, you know I'm right. A hero who can't work with others is merely just a dead man walking. And right now, I can't find any other person who fits that description more than you. So, while you reflect on your performance, reflect on your actions too. Because trust me when I say this, you'll have a lot more people backing you if you decide to change for the better. Katsuki wasn't amused by this comment, growling loudly, while All Might released him from his binds. Eventually, some time passed with the 4 students standing still, while All Might began to speak to the other students. Despite the results being in the hero's favor, the MVP of this exercise goes to young Ida. Tenya gasped at the comment, as well as Isuku, who thought that his performance was rather substantial for the MVP spot. Suyu, who was curious by this decision, raised her hand. Shouldn't it be one of the heroes instead, since they're the winners? Valid question. Why didn't I choose one of those two? Who has a guess? While many of the students couldn't exactly give a critical answer, it was Momo Yaoyorozu who gave the most accurate answer. Sir, if I may, I can try to explain it as best as I can. While it's true that the heroes won this exercise, the reason Ida was deemed the MVP is because he truly embraced this challenge. Bakugo's main problem was that his judgment was clouded by a personal grudge. Because of this, he abandoned Ida and got himself captured. For Yagi, while he definitely was in his element of playing the hero, he failed when he attempted to play negotiator with Ida. In any normal situation, when a villain is playing with the lives of innocent bystanders, regardless if they have any present, it is not wise for a hero to taunt a villain through their communications. But I barely did that, Izuku pouted. Lastly, regarding Uraraka, she took the role rather seriously and gave clear comms to Yagi. However, she recklessly used her gravity quirk without considering the possible consequences. If she had lost control, she could have inadvertently caused the weapon to explode before the appropriate experts could disarm it. All three of them, while doing the exercise, only treated it as such. An exercise. Meanwhile, Ida was fully prepared for his opponent's arrival. Even if he couldn't enact it, he had a strategy and never lost sight of his mission to protect the dummy weapon. A good answer, Yaoyorozu. While there were some things you did overlook, you otherwise nailed the answer. One should always start with the basics and devote themselves wholeheartedly to learning. That's the only real way to become a top hero. While the other heroes admired her for her confidence, Izuku was less than thrilled, feeling as though he and his classmate were not going to be on good terms. Yeah, she definitely has the posture of a rich girl. Still, I guess she did have a point with the exercise. Can't exactly fault her on that. Now then, time to blow this joint. Let's move on to the next match. Think about everything we saw and discussed as you tackle this training for yourself. While the students responded appropriately to the teacher, those that had completed the trial let out a sigh of satisfaction, all except for Katsuki, who was still deep in his own thoughts, upset at himself for losing to someone like Izuku. But in spite of his strength, there was a level of charm that the boy had, primarily when it came to his own individual interactions with both his classmates and other students. Because of this, he would soon become popular with many in the school, though there were a few that did not follow the crowd when it came to this. However, because of this attention he was getting, he was somewhat getting his ego inflated. Though he tried to play off this attention as nothing more than the same as what he had to deal with years before, he couldn't help but feel happy at the attention. It didn't help that sometime after the battle training, the young man would find himself at the center of attention from the media, all because his father was a UA teacher. Hey you, can you tell us what it's like to work closely with All Might? I mean, how much time do you have? I've got plenty to say. Well, tell us. What's the symbol of peace like in person? Where do I begin? I believe if I had to put it in one word, I would say that working with All Might has been quite magnificent. I mean, the guy in person is like a big teddy bear. Sure, he's strong and muscular, but he certainly is a lot more cooler than some of the other heroes I've seen on TV, and that's a fact. How is he faring as a teacher? What are you learning? I mean, if we're getting into specifics, then Before he could comment further, the young man was grabbed by the back of his jacket, being dragged by the floor, while moving further away from the reporter. Hey, who is trying to take me away from the spotlight? He yelled in an arrogant manner. But it was only when he saw Aizawa being the one responsible for this, that he began to calm down. Oh hey Teach, how come you're being a total buzzkill right now? Yagi, as someone who has dealt with the media before, here's the advice I'm gonna give you. Quit while you're ahead. They're very good at taking what you say out of context. You say that with experience, Teach? Look, your powers may be incredible, but don't think you're invincible. All it takes is someone with a quirk that counters you, and you'll end up making a mistake. I see. Well, I'll try to keep that in mind. But I can't say that I'll be able to control my ego, especially with all the attention I'm getting from the other students. Don't try, just do. Okay, I'll make sure to do that. After being dragged to the classroom, Izuku was left sighing a heavy breath, as Tenya was wondering what was wrong with the boy. Izuku, what's wrong? Tenya asked him. Oh, it's nothing. Mr. Aizawa just gave me a lecture on me needing to control my ego. I see. Well, I hope you take his lecture to heart then. Oh, Tenya. And here I thought you were going to be on my side. Izuku, as much as I would defend you, I have to say that Mr. Aizawa is correct in his assessment. Lately you have been letting your ego fuel your actions. And that's something I can't tolerate. Well, it's not my fault. Everyone's been saying I'm the strongest student in class 1A. How could I not get big-headed? Izuku, it's not bad to have confidence. But too much confidence can turn into pride. If you let your pride make you believe you're better than everyone, you'll end up stagnating. Alright, I get it. Man, you kind of sounded like Mr. Aizawa just now. The door to the classroom opened, with Aizawa walking in and having a tired expression on his face. Naturally, the students quickly rushed to their desks, not wanting to incur his wrath. That's very good. It looks like you guys do know how to follow instructions. Now, I just want to say, decent work on yesterday's combat training, you guys. I saw the video feeds and went over each of your team's results. Bakugo, you're talented. So don't sulk like a child about your loss. Okay? Katsuki got annoyed at this, with the boy looking out the window, before Aizawa turned his gaze to Izuku. And Yagi, like I told you before, keep that ego of yours in check. You may be powerful, but that stunt of yours was a little reckless. You got it, he said with a smug grin on his face. Right, now that we got that out of the way, let's get down to business. Our first task will decide your future. The mention of these words caused most of the students to shiver, but was quickly subsided when it was quickly revealed it was merely choosing who to elect as the class representative. This quickly ended up causing a bit of chaos amongst the class, with many believing they were the ones who should be the class representative, especially Izuku, who was the loudest amongst them. Guys, come on. The class representative should be elected based on strength. I think that as the strongest in the class, naturally, the position of class rep should go to me. Dude, no offense, but I don't think strength is the only thing that should be considered, Zero pointed out. But you gotta admit, it does help if the class rep has some power behind his words, figuratively and literally. But if you think someone else is suitable, then I won't stop you. Regardless of Yagi's strength, the class representative's duty is to lead others. That's not something just anyone can do. You must first have the trust of every student in the classroom. Therefore, the most logical way to fill this position is democratically. We will hold an election. To choose our leader, Tenya says to his classmates. Some of the students saw through the facade as Tenya, not really doing well to hide it, was really showing that he just wanted them to vote for him. This left others to question the method. Is this really the best idea? Denki asked the young man. I mean, everyone's just gonna vote for themselves. You can't blame them. We've only known each other for a few days. That is true, most people will. But that means whoever does receive multiple votes must truly be the most suitable person for the job. It's the best way, right, sir? Aizawa, who was too tired to deal with this nonsense, merely allowed them to handle it how they saw fit. Do what you want. Just decide before my nap's over. Thank you for your trust. Naturally, although the democratic system quelled any more chaos, the results were not what Tenya wanted, as when lunch came around, the young man was seen looking frustrated at the outcome. I can't believe that I didn't get enough votes. How did this happen? Hey, don't worry, man. If it makes you feel better, I didn't get a single vote. Izuku admitted to him. Yeah, but you don't care if you get picked. A position like this is a way to get noticed by agencies and prove you can lead a team like a real pro. But why do you care about that? Weren't you just going to join your family's agency? Well, yeah, but it would show that I can lead my own team. I have to show my brother that I am capable of leading a team should the situation require me to do so. I guess you have a point. Cheer up, Ida. I'm sure there's an opportunity to show your skills, Chako says to him. I guess, but even so, the fact that something like this happened just frustrates me. Man, you really wanted people to vote for you. Still, even though you didn't get the main position, you did get the deputy position. That is true. I guess there is some benefit to that. Good. Glad you saw the good in this. Now let's eat. Your food will get cold if you don't eat it. Things for the students of Class 1A were relatively normal for them, with the lessons going as expected. Eventually, at around 12:50 p.m., the students returned to their homeroom, waiting on Aizawa to deliver the lesson. Today's training will be a little different. Rather than participate in battle-oriented scenarios, each of you will be subjected to another situation you'll each encounter in your lives as heroes. Rescue training. Naturally, some of the students were intrigued by this, before Aizawa explained further. For today's lesson, in order to hammer in the necessary process behind rescue operations, you'll be dealing with natural disasters, shipwrecks, stuff like that. Disasters, huh? Sounds like we're in for a big workout, Denki commented. Totally, Mina added. Finally, real hero stuff. This is what separates the men from the boys. I'm shaken with excitement. Ijiro spoke out. Finally, I'll get to show off how good I am in water. Ribbit. Naturally, Aizawa was annoyed with this sudden change, not liking that his students became distracted by their own thoughts. Guys, I'm not finished yet. What you wear in this exercise is up to you. I know you're excited about costumes, but keep in mind that you haven't gotten used to them yet, and they might limit your abilities. This special training's at an off-campus facility, so we'll be taking a bus to get there. That's all. Start getting ready. Pressing a button on the remote in his pocket, panels in the wall began to slide out, revealing what looked to be briefcases that contained their costumes. Having been given the go-ahead, each student got up from their desks, grabbing their specified briefcases, before heading out of the classroom. Some time passed, and the students rode the bus to the off-campus facility, with Isuku stuffing his face with treats, while leaning back against his chair and looking out the window. It took a while for the bus to eventually arrive at their destination, but after approaching closer, Aizawa stood up from his seat. "All right, students. Look alive, we're here," Aizawa said out loud. The students were introduced to the hero known as the Space Hero 13, who, despite having the voice of a woman, wore a costume that did not reflect such characteristics. They began to talk about the facility itself, disclosing the name of it, as well as escorting them inside to showcase the various parts. The sheer size of the facility caused their jaws to drop in surprise. "Oh my goodness! It looks like some kind of amusement park," Ijiro said out loud. "A shipwreck, a landslide, a fire, a windstorm, etc. I created this training facility to prepare you to deal with different types of disasters. I call it the Unforeseen Simulation Joint, but you can call it USJ." While the students took this in, Aizawa approached her. "Hey, shouldn't All Might be here already? Let me guess, he booked an interview instead." "Actually, it's something else. Apparently he did too much hero work on the way to school this morning and used up all his power. He's resting in the teacher's lounge as we speak," 13 said to him, while lifting up her hand and showing 3 of her fingers. This gave Isuku a clue as to what was going on. His father was going to take 3 hours before he would arrive at the facility. This caused the teacher to let out an annoyed sigh. "That man is the height of irresponsibility. Well, we should be okay with just the 2 of us. The clock's ticking. We should get started." After being given the spotlight for the class, 13 began to divulge some of the details behind the responsibilities of a rescue hero, primarily the dangerous aspects of misusing individual powers. In our superhuman society, all quirks are certified and stringently regulated, so we often overlook how unsafe they can actually be. Please don't forget that if you lose focus or make the wrong move, your powers can be deadly. Even if you're trying to do something virtuous like rescue someone. Thanks to Aizawa's fitness tests, you have a solid idea of your quirk's potential. And because of All Might's combat training, you likely experienced how dangerous your powers can be when used against other people. Carry those lessons over to this class. Today, you're going to learn how to use your quirks to save people's lives. You won't be using your powers to attack enemies or each other, only to help. After all, that's what being a hero is all about. Ensuring the safety of others. That's all I have to say. Thank you for listening. After the brief presentation, much praise was given by the students, with all of them being motivated to try their best at the rescue exercise. Aizawa approached the students, turning off his phone before he began to speak. "Right, now that that's over, we can finally start the exercise. He pointed his finger over to the various wrecks, ready to walk down the stairs and continue on with the lesson. But as he did so, the lights above them suddenly went dim. Though Izuku did not care for the change in lighting, he did find it odd that he was looking at some kind of small wormhole near the fountain. "Hey sir, I don't mean to add unnecessary baggage to whatever situation is developing, but what's that near the fountain?" When Aizawa looked at the direction Izuku was pointing to, he too noticed the wormhole, particularly when it began to grow bigger and change its shape rapidly. A pair of eyes would suddenly sprout out, with strangely shaped people suddenly walking out of the being. "Stay together and don't move." 13. Protect the students. As Aizawa positioned himself, the numbers of strangely shaped individuals grew exponentially, each having different features that seemingly did not match the normal human anatomy. Out of the many, though, 2 people stood out to Aizawa. One was a large muscly creature with a beak mouth, while the other was a young man wearing what appeared to be a black t-shirt, and several hands covering the majority of his body from head to toe. "Wait, has the training started already? I thought we were rescuing people," Ijiro asked out loud. Though the boy did try to approach closer, Aizawa quickly intervened, yelling at the boy and stopping him from continuing. "Stay back. This is real. Those are villains." "Oh sick, those are real villains. Now this is definitely a cool lesson, Mr. Aizawa," Izuku said out loud. "Yagi, now's not the time." While the last of the villains exited the portal, it began to reshape itself into that of a humanoid figure. "The only real heroes I see are 13 and Eraserhead. Perplexing. According to the schedule we retrieved from UA, All Might should be here as well." Because of this villain's monologue, Aizawa was slightly caught off guard. Schedule? When were they able to get a hold of such sensitive information? Many thoughts were going around in Aizawa's mind, thoughts he didn't have time to think about. Naturally, he as a teacher had one job to do, to prioritize student safety above everything else. However, in spite of this, it didn't stop a certain few from wanting to try and join their teacher in the fight, resulting in the two to start a small argument. "Katsuki, what are you doing? You should let the big boys handle this little skirmish." "Oh, don't you even start. As if I would let you look down on me even further. None of you are to put your lives in danger," Aizawa shouted. The teacher became distracted by the two, with the young man amongst the crowd becoming increasingly irritated. But this was not due to them ignoring him, but rather because of something else: All Might's lack of appearance. "Where is he? I went through the trouble of bringing so many friends who were eager to meet him. They want All Might, the great symbol of peace. I can't believe he's not here. Maybe if I kill a few kids, he'll come out to play." While the villains began to approach, some of the students were naturally confused by how something like this was even possible. Considering the large amounts of security that UA apparently has, something like this shouldn't have even happened. Not unless something was disrupting the alarms. 13. Why aren't the alarms going off? Momo asked the hero. "Good question. I'm not sure. Is the entire campus under attack? Or is this their only target? Either way, if the alarm sensors aren't being triggered, then one of these villains must have a quirk that's masking their presence here. They carefully chose this isolated facility as an entry point at a time when a class was being taught. They're fools for trespassing here, but they've thought this out. Whatever their plan, they must have a concrete objective in mind. But what is it?" It was here that several different things were going on in each of the students' minds. Were they going to survive? Were they going to escape? Each of them, regardless as to how frightened they were, had some motion of thought regarding each of these questions. But as they did so, Aizawa stretched his legs and arms, beginning to approach the stairs. 13, get them out of here, and alert the main campus. Actually, if they've got the ability to block our sensors, then they might be jamming our regular communications too. Kaminari, try using your quirk to contact the school." "Yes, sir." While Denki was following Aizawa's instructions, Izuku was being a bit difficult with the teacher. "You sure you don't want any help? I mean, no offense, but even if you can nullify their quirks, your fighting style's not suited for prolonged group combat. Your power works best in stealth and one-on-one fights." "You have a point, Yagi, but even so, I'm not going to have children fight in a battle they have no reason to engage in. You may be future heroes, but you're also kids. I want to spare you from the horrors of battle as much as I can. Besides, you can't be a pro if you only have one trick. I'll leave it to you. 13. He finished, as he leapt toward the battlefield. Though Izuku thought his actions were going to be slightly foolish, he couldn't help but admit that he had grown some respect for the teacher, viewing him not as some grumpy teacher, but a genuinely reliable guy. Tamura Shigaraki, the identity of the young man who began the invasion on the USJ. Though no one from the public I knew of who this young man was, he was anything but stable. Having been groomed at a young age to exhibit hatred of all heroes, he was something of an enigma amongst the various villains that came and went. Where some wanted to gain money and fame in the underworld of villainy, this young man was not driven by such frivolous things. He only wanted one thing: the death of All Might. Throughout the years, he had been trained to hone his control over the quirk Decay, and throughout that time, he had come to learn of the machinations of his master. A charismatic man, an intelligent man, cruel man. Along with this, he had been cared for by someone likely to be identified as a disciple, a doctor who had been working with the man for what seemed like decades. The doctor had done all sorts of twisted experiments for the cruel man Tamura called his father, but one of these twisted experiments came in the form of a creature, one that had been formed by the manipulation of human anatomy. I call this the instant Nomu. Like the instant villains from years prior, these villains have been modified to be stronger than the average person. Unlike the high-end Nomu where he has been specifically modified and takes time to create, the instant Nomus are easy to create. Thanks to our newest weapon, we can easily transform people into the soldiers of our choice. However, I should say that unlike the high-end Nomu, that they are quite weak by comparison. That's fine, doctor. Given how the child was heavily modified, I have no doubt that they'll need to get accustomed to their new abilities. For now, these lesser Nomu will serve as the main force for Tamura. Now then, have them convert everyone that has come to us. They will need all the strength we can offer to take on the future heroes of this nation. The words of his master rang through his mind, as he would witness his various minions, now revealed as the instant Nomus being quickly defeated by Aizawa. These Nomus, they are a far cry from being the perfect minions, but I will give credit where credit is due. The child really did a good job at making them as menacing as possible. Still, if only she removed their ability to think. If it wasn't for that, they wouldn't have to worry about whether their quirks have been turned off. How annoying. The hero continued to fight against the villains, with the students of Class 1 desperately running toward the exit, while Izuku stayed behind to observe the fight. Wow, that guy can certainly fight. Maybe I should have him teach me hand-to-hand combat sometime. Izuku, now's not the time. We have to go. All right, I'm coming. Running alongside his classmates, Izuku and the other students of Class 1A made their way to the door. But their hopes plummeted down, as the wormhole villain, having found an opportunity, appeared in front of them. There is no escape for you, the villain said to them. The students stopped in their tracks, with 13 taking the front, aiming her finger at the villain. Izuku was tempted to merely use his power of attraction to pull the villain away from them, but decided to hold off on the idea, hoping to gain some necessary information from the villain in hopes of understanding the situation. It's a pleasure to meet you. We are the League of Villains. I know it's impolite, but we decided to invite ourselves into this haven of justice to say hello. And besides, isn't this a fitting place for All Might, the symbol of peace, to take his last breath? I believe he was supposed to be here today, and yet I see no sign of him. There must have been some sort of change in plans we could not have foreseen. Well, in the end, I suppose it doesn't matter. I still have a role to play. Izuku's eyes widened slightly, with him now getting a grasp of the situation playing out. But as he was formulating a plan in his mind, Katsuki and Kirishima rushed at the villain, combining their respective attacks in order to try and stop the villain. However, despite their best efforts, the villain was largely unaffected. You certainly live up to your school's reputation, but you should be more careful, children. Otherwise, someone might get hurt. You too. Get out of the way right now, 13 cried out. Kurojiri began to narrow his eyes, anticipating the hero's actions and spread out his essence all around them, attempting to prevent them from escaping. I'll scatter you across this facility to meet my comrades, and your deaths. As the villain did this, the students were overwhelmed by the sheer force that was pushing them. While some were able to escape with ease, others were left to try and anchor themselves to the ground. For Izuku, however, there was but one thing he could do. Creating what looked to be two small red orbs, he shot them toward some of his classmates, using the power of repulsion to push them out of the villain's attack. Because of this, Tsuyu and Mineta were saved from the villain's scheme. Though Izuku tried to stop himself from being teleported, using his barrier in an attempt to block the process, he quickly discovered that such a countermeasure was not effective, as he would suddenly appear in the ruins zone. Well then, that was not what I was expecting, and here I thought I would have just ended up not being transported. Oh well, I'm just glad I managed to get those two out of that villain's attack when I did. Who knows where they would have ended up? Surveying the area around him, he would try and chart out a route of escape, seeing that despite landing at the ruins section of the USJ, that he was not far from the entrance. Sweet. Guess it won't be that hard to get back with the others. Question is, how do they plan on killing Dad? I mean, I doubt it would be by using this army they've brought. If Mr. Aizawa can handle them, then there's no way Dad could lose to them. So what's their trump card? Do they have some sort of weapon? Or did they bring someone with a power that could overcome him? Questions for later. Leaping off of the building he was standing on, he proceeded to walk through the ruins, not caring about the small villains that charged at him upon discovering him. Naturally, the only outcome that came about from their scuffle was Izuku totally overpowering them. He took note of the anatomy that each of these villains, finding that there was a common theme that each of them had. Specifically, a hand mark ingrained into the skin. Was this the result of a quirk? Taking this detail in, he continued his journey, eventually escaping the ruins zone and making his way over to the stairs. But before he did so, he turned over to Aizawa, who right now was not in the best situation. His arm had some kind of wound on it, like the very skin that covered it was cracking and dusting away. Sure, he still held his own against the various foes that came his way, but such determination to win did not matter. Not when the apparent final boss made his debut. The villain grabbed Aizawa by the hair, proceeding to smash his face into the concrete ground. Because of this, a small puddle of blood formed where his face was being pressed into, only growing larger with each second that passed. What do you think of him, Eraserhead? He's the bioengineered anti-symbol of peace. But you can call him Nomu. Aizawa desperately tried to fight back against the creature, punching the creature in the face and the brain. But such attacks were useless against the creature, as it effortlessly grabbed his arm and snapped it like a twig. He let out a cry of agony, feeling the bone in his body pierce out of its place. You can erase people's powers. That's irritating, but it's nothing impressive. When faced with true, devastating power, you might as well be a quirkless child. Through his best efforts, Aizawa activated his quirk, hoping to erase the creature's power. But this was also pointless, as the creature stomped on his other arm, rendering him physically incapable of fighting. Gasping for air, Aizawa was left in a daze. He's breaking my bones like they're twigs. I'm positive I erased his quirk. That means he's super strong, even without powers. I think he's as strong as All Might. The creature attempted to kill the teacher, grabbing him by the head and proceeding to smash it into the ground once more. But before he was able to do so, a blue orb flew by him, seemingly pulling him away from Aizawa, and away by a large distance. Noticing this, Tamura Shigaraki looked over to find Izuku, having just arrived at the battle. What? Izuku looked down at Aizawa, who was unable to move, or even lift up his head to meet the boy. But even though he was unable to see him face to face, he could tell someone had arrived. Wow, you really are a tough nut to crack, Mr. Aizawa. To be honest, I didn't expect these villains to have to use that thing against you. But you really are amazing. Why, Yagi? Don't worry, I'll hold them off for as long as I can. Yagi, don't. Hill. Mr. Aizawa, do you doubt my strength that much? I may be a kid, but I'm not exactly helpless. Think of this as a showcase of what to expect. A showcase of our capabilities as the next generation. As Tamura stared down at the brat, a sense of unease washed over him. Why it was, he was not sure, but there was a certain feeling that he had. A feeling that this boy was somehow familiar. Not because he had met him before, but because he carried a certain level of swagger. It was almost on the same level as All Might. My, you're certainly a cocky little brat. All that bravado, only to be wasted on a soon-to-be dead brat. Me? Dead? Who decided that? While Tamura was slightly irritated by the boy's attitude, this frustration would only grow once the portal villain appeared next to him. Tamura Shigaraki. Kurogiri, did you manage to kill 13? The rescue hero is out of commission, but there were students I was unable to disperse and one of them got outside of the facility. Ha! I tried to stop them, but one of them used some kind of gravity quirk to stop me from moving. Tamura was showing signs of mental instability, with the villain beginning to scratch himself. Small trickles of blood would eventually seep down from his neck, all while his concerns were not on his physical well-being, but rather the outcome of the situation. Kurogiri, you fool, if you weren't our warp gate, I'd tear apart every last atom in your body. There's no way we can win if dozens of pros show up to stop us. It's game over. Back to the title screen. And I was looking forward to finishing this today. And all I wanted was to kill the symbol of peace. But maybe killing one of his brats and breaking him will suffice. Oh, if it makes you feel better, All Might is my dad, so that should give you some motivation. Not sure if the boy was tricking him with that sudden revelation. Tamura chose to ignore him. As if I would believe a lie like that. I mean, if you don't want to believe me, then that's on you. Tamura shifts his stance a bit, moving away from the boy slightly, before the Nomu suddenly appears next to him, hoping to deliver a kill strike. But its fist quickly stops in its tracks. Oh yeah. Now this is definitely going to be easy. If your monster here can't even penetrate through my barrier, then there's no need for concern. Blue. Raising his finger up, a small blue orb suddenly began to form, with the boy shooting it at the creature. Because of how concentrated the attack was, the Nomu began to feel itself being pulled apart, losing an arm, but narrowly escaping the rest of the blast. But after it did so, its arm quickly regenerated, going back to the point where nothing had happened to it. Isuku whistled loudly, impressed by the creature's regeneration capabilities. Wow, a regeneration quirk. Quite impressive. Look like we're in a bit of a stalemate. Fortunately for me, I can do this all day. Choosing to utilize his physical prowess, Isuku engaged in a fight with the Nomu, going blow for blow with the creature, doing very little in terms of damage. Though Isuku was able to block some of the attacks, he knew that he wasn't going to end things if this back and forth continued. The fist fight continued for some time, with Isuku even going as far as to move about erratically, grabbing the Nomu's limbs and landing powerful kicks to its face. When this had no effect, he resorted to utilizing blue in order to wear the creature down. The result of this was the continuous dismemberment of the creature, with it regenerating moments later. Wow, you really are one tough monster. Doesn't even matter where I punch you, does it? That's because Nomu here also has shock absorption. The only way you're going to hurt him is to slowly gouge out his flesh. Of course, I don't think he'll sit back and let you do that. Isuku took a moment to pause, reflecting on the words that the villain spoke out. A part of him was confused why the villain would just reveal the powers behind the creature. But more importantly, he only affirmed that the creature was anything but normal. How it was that it had multiple quirks was beyond him. But he only smiled, ready to finally go all out on the creature. Is that so? Well then, maybe I just have to hit him harder, he said, punching the Nomu. Without the villain realizing it, Isuku had taken off his blindfold, now fully being able to dominate in the fight, while also being able to effortlessly dodge the creature's strikes. That's when the villain noticed something. The look in the young man's eye. Despite their facial features being different, he could see it. The same look that All Might had in his eyes. A sense of anger washed over the villain, as he saw this hero student, this boy, totally overwhelm the Nomu. But it did not just look that way from a hand-to-hand combat standpoint. Because Isuku did not feel the need to hold back anymore. He was able to quickly form both red and blue orbs, firing them in quick succession, and hit the Nomu. From having it being pushed back by the power of red, to being dragged through the ground by the power of blue, there was no way for the creature to counterattack or even get close to him. Spreading his arms out, he quickly forms one large red and blue orb, firing them in different directions, before charging at the Nomu and engaging in combat with it. He holds it off for a while, waiting for the two orbs to get close enough, before leaping away. You know, I never really tried to figure out what happens when I hit someone with these at the same time, so let's see what kind of fireworks I can make. When the two orbs eventually collided, the Nomu was continuously caught in the endless push and pull of both the orbs. But something happened during the collision that Izuku quickly noticed. The attacks were seemingly combining into some kind of massive force. One that not only changed in color but also in its function. There was no longer red or blue. There was only the bright purple glow of the combined attack. The Nomu desperately tried to regenerate from the attack that it was being hit by, but it largely failed to do so as the attack only erased what it tried to regenerate. Through this process, the Nomu was slowly consumed by the attack, with its top half being completely erased. When the attack eventually dissipated, only its feet remained, left in what looked to be a large crater where it once stood. The young man couldn't help but be impressed by this, smiling nervously at the destructive capabilities of the attack. Whoa, I'm getting goosebumps just by looking at that. All of that just by combining red and blue? Now that is seriously amazing. What should I call this attack anyway? I mean, just calling it purple isn't exactly cool given its end result. But I'll put a pin on that. As Tamura saw this, he became greatly irritated by how effortlessly the Nomu was taken down. By a boy of all people. No! 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 How dare you? How dare you kill NOMU? Huh? Dude, are you really getting pressed about me defending myself? I mean, you are a villain, so I guess it's expected. But still, if this was the guy that was meant to take my father out permanently, then I'm sorry to tell you this, but you made a pretty bad investment. I mean, if I was able to take it down, then there was no way All Might would lose against it. Tamura's anger spiked greatly, with the scratching of his neck intensifying in the process. He began to scream loudly, to the point where Izuku had to cover his ears. Naturally, the villain tried to rush at Izuku, hoping to grab him, and use his quirk to disintegrate him. But before he did so, there was a loud crash at the entrance of the USJ. The two looked up towards the entrance, completely forgetting about the fight that they were about to engage in. From what they saw, the dust blasted throughout the area, with only the sounds of footsteps echoing throughout the complex. Though Izuku did not know who it was that arrived, from hearing the voice that followed, he knew that victory was in their grasp. Have no fear, students, because I am here, All Might said with a stern expression. Tamura Shigaraki could only look on in absolute panic, as he had to face the facts that he was beaten.